All right.
Oh my God, we finally made it through.
What is
I
going on?
thought we
We're
were
live.
stuck like that
There
forever.
we go.
Finally.
Welcome. We have Jeremy Reese joining Alien Scientist. We have Jeremiah Pop, Exotic Propulsion, Ancient Historia, Luke, Frankie of Tau, myself, and Mindful Exposures, Esro, quite the crew. To any Knuckleheads out there, happy Canada Day, and in a couple of days, happy 4th of July to all of you Americans with us. And Luke, you're out on the aisle across in the UK. Do you got any holiday coming up, or just
No, not really. Coming up in summer, we have a holiday called Thank God He Didn't Kill Us, where we all celebrate the fact that the king or queen didn't kill us.
Okay, right, because we all celebrate separating from your king and queen, even though we're still, I guess, in Canada at least.
What is that called?
Admitted. The monarchy? The what? The Commonwealth? Ooh, and we got Elkman as well. Jeremy, how are you? Jeremiah, you got something to show, or should I first play the parody that was made? Because I went a little far out. It's all pyramids, man. No, it's not.
Pyramids all the way down. I'm gonna see if I can get a shot of this Van de Graaff doing its thing, but
Okay,
it's gonna be a hard shot to take. We'll give it a whirl later.
Okay, do that later. All right. So first we will play my new editing skills, apparently.
And it definitely wasn't made by Shem. Just in case anyone thought it was.
Battery. Looks like the Indian temples that are carved out of the frickin' bedrock.
2 very boring minutes later.
Yeah, I caught a little bit of this earlier. It's been pretty crazy.
1 nap later.
Look at this shit. They're all pyramids. Everything was pyramidal to begin with. You've seen it here first.
Yeah, it's weird. I'm looking that up right now.
Like, look at this cement rebarred freaking fortification, and then just a dinky wood watchtower on top. But 3 arches worth of cemented caves going into the sides. Everything is pyramidal. This looks like they just took over some Navajo freaking mountaintop.
It looks like the trench warfare of World War I.
It's all the real stream.
These look like military encampments.
What?
Some of them are from the Civil War.
This is like.
Are you crazy?
Well, there is some interesting footage of.
So, to give you reference, Jeremy, what it is this was a stream I did that then we edited down into a parody making fun of, as I'm trying to claim that everything is a pyramidal or from a macro terraforming, like, former epoch of, like, higher builders or something, you know. But clearly it is not, and there's just a lot of nature mixed in as well. But the photos are from the U.S. Civil War, as well as from the late 1800s through the U.S.
It looks like an early Army Corps of Engineers, like, field handbook for, like, you know, ancient forts or something. You know, that's kind of what it looks like. The pictures. I don't know.
Right, so a lot of it is native Pueblo and Hopi pictures and forts as well as, and then there's in Colorado what's known as Garden of the Gods, which is a lot of the, like, mountaintop fortress sort of stuff, and then a compilation of pyramid mountains and pyramid lakes from North America as well mixed in what we're showing here.
Keep going.
2 very boring minutes later.
Yeah, I caught a little bit of this earlier. It's been pretty crazy.
So that was Civil War, U.S.
1 map later.
Look at this shit. They're all pyramids. Everything was pyramidal to begin with. Even the cannonballs. You've seen it here first.
Yeah, it's weird. I'm looking that up right now.
Like, look at this cement rebarred freaking fortification, and then just a
You can see the cannonball damage too.
Watchtower on top. But 3 arches worth of cemented caves going into the sides. Everything is pyramidal.
Sandbag pyramid.
This looks like they just took over some Navajo freaking mountaintop. Looks like some Guardians. Looks like another Guardian.
What? Like, huh? Are you crazy?
Just mind-blowing.
Absolutely mind-blowing.
Oh, just the monastery here. No, the
What's up, Nicky B?
monastery made of the only surviving mud brick building castles from around the whole.
After coming across those petrified pieces of wood and looking into it a little bit more, some of these places that are carved into mountains, that sometimes I just start to think that maybe they were just structures before the flood, possibly, and they became, I guess, there's carved out type mountain looking structures after the flood, maybe, but obviously that's just a random theory.
You're a stupid dumbass.
Like, something fucked this shit right up, but then you have however many eons of actual erosion and life and decay and stuff that has gone on since then. Like, is this the sleeping dude here? Giant guy behind this, and like this natural amphitheater in Colorado? Like, are you kidding me? No, nature
Is that Red
doesn't.
Yeah.
Oh shit! I hit back. Yes, I was trying to pause it. Red Rock Amphitheater in Colorado, right?
Yeah. I went to a Blues Traveler show there years ago.
Nice.
And the South Park live orchestra symphony episode or video or whatever the heck it was, production was recorded there. It was pretty epic. I think it's like a year or two old now on Netflix. No, some streaming service. I don't know, but it was the first time I saw this, and just fascinating. The actual acoustic geometry of it is like perfect. It had to have been intelligently worked on and designed to the way it the whole canyon area is formed.
Why does it have to been? I mean, they could have just gone in that canyon and been like, oh, look, the acoustics in here are real great. Let's put a stage up and build an amphitheater.
Well, what I'm saying is that I believe that it was built in like ruins from, say, like if there was a worldwide like Atlantis sort of civilization from beforehand that would have originally constructed it, then we would have found it in ruins and recognized instantly that it is a amphitheater built arena, and that we just renovated it and upgraded it to be usable again.
So this one isn't a good example of it, but some straight-walled amphitheaters, especially the step ones or the staircase ones, very large separation, Greg reflector style, basically. Those are perfect for doing acoustic levitation stuff. And that
sorry to interrupt. I believe this one is in the Garden of the Gods area, and then there's another identical one in the Montana Giants Playground area, as well as in the Grand Canyon Pyramid Complex area of temples. The what was it called? Not the Persia, the Ottoman Empire. It was the Ottoman amphitheater is the one that is the natural or ruined.
Ottoman Empire was Turkey, not Utah.
Yeah, yes, I know. But in the Grand Canyon complex, there is a spot. I don't know if it's labeled on here, but I don't know if it's big enough to read. But back in the middle area, there's one area, I believe, between a couple of the other temples called the Ottoman Amphitheater, and that it looks like an identical sort of former ruined natural amphitheater from before, and that it's actually named that is the actual name of that feature in the Grand Canyon, is called the Ottoman Amphitheater, and it's in that area that they don't allow drone flights, and that they don't allow people to go exploring and chase you out with the Apache helicopter that apparently happened to wrecks their leak project. But this is speculation, of course, until we can.
So he went there and tried to film it and actually got chased out.
Yeah, it's on his channel. Like literally, it shows his drone being like crashed down. Him, it just spontaneously deciding to accelerate into a cliff wall and malfunctioning crash, and then 10 or 30 seconds later, Apache helicopter comes up from below the cliff line, and like he's got footage of it on his channel. It's like a year and a half old at this point.
Out of interest, have you heard of the Chan Thomas Adam and Eve story?
Yes.
But yeah, so
The
that
CIA one,
talks, yeah, in that, I mean, I don't agree with everything he says by any means, but in that he talks about different layers of sedimentation, especially in the Grand Canyon areas, being laid down as if it was like a cataclysm moving through. And I thought, well, possibly are these remnants of something that's been washed there and then deposited, you know, and that's why it's, you know, it's something you don't want to go digging in. Well, they don't want you to go digging in because you're going to discover all these remnants of a washed away city that's been deposited there and covered over by all this mud. Just thought maybe that was something.
Yeah, this in Colorado and Utah, there's a big thing about what's called the BLM, Bureau of Land Management.
Yes, sir.
You can't even dig up a horseshoe. It's like a federal offense out there. It's like disturbing, you know, national history. Because
I've heard them BLM have been smashing up the cities as well, bastards.
So you can't even if it's on your own property and you find a horseshoe, you're supposed to like call BLM right away. Because if you dig it up yourself or try to sell it or do anything with like the artifacts or anything like that, and there's all kinds of fines and legal repercussions in place for that kind of stuff. So yeah, I'd imagine at the Grand Canyon, they don't want you, you know, digging in, destroying the landscape and the property there either. For obvious reason too. They, you know, maybe there's nothing there and people are just going to go out there and start, you know, pulling off, you know, start digging the place up and destroying this natural wonder. For what? It's like it's like the people that looted and destroyed the pyramids years ago and took all the casing stones off.
Also known as the British Museum.
We look back today and we say, damn, we wish people hadn't done that. But at the time they're like, oh, we're looking for the evidence, you know. They could have been, who knows why they took the casing stones off. They said they used them to rebuild for their own cathedrals and churches and stuff. But you know, regardless, it's the same idea. Trying to preserve natural.
Yeah, absolutely right. And then a lot of one thing I've seen and noticed is a lot of what looks like, what resembles both these pyramidal mountain lake sites and actual recognized mounds and pyramids within North America, South America. They all lie within current remaining indigenous nations, like land and treaties reserves and stuff, or they're these bastion forts areas around what look like just once again these macro terraformed, a lot of them being man-made islands that seem like they're made of these megalithic blocks or just way too intense, too large of structures and terraformed, like actually large scale terraformed structures, that it just doesn't seem like the Spanish or the Inca or, you know, whoever they try to claim made it. It was feasible or possible with it. And that it's essentially this Atlantis time is real, but it was a time of megafauna where they claim there's giant beavers, they claim there's giant freaking armadillos, saber-tooths, mastodons, rhinos,
zebras,
sloths, and then also
And the
these
whole aerial
dinosaurs,
picture.
everything else behind,
dire
like,
wolves.
so why not also humanoids or hominid megafauna? And that all of these ancient texts, as far back as you go, it tells of the stories of these giant people and stuff. So thus that most likely the indigenous legends of these past cataclysms, societies, and habitations or just cycles are real, and you know, maybe truth is stranger than fiction. But yeah.
So I knew a bunch of guys obsessed with this like 5-6 years ago, and they found actually a property owner. I'm not going to say where because they're still working on this, but he has some of these original mound sites on his own personal private property, and he's sort of given some of these friends of mine some expedition rights to go out there and start digging around. So I'm hoping if they do find some, you know, giant skeletons, you know, we'll be reporting it in a coming couple of years or so. But yeah, I thought that was interesting because they're into all this theory about the mound people and there being these giant skeletons that were buried in the mounds, and that the early excavators went and dug up all the mounds and basically hid these giant skeletons in the Smithsonian, and you know how the theory goes. So
right. And so the thing is, though, that like you brought up with both the BLM as well as indigenous rights sort of things, and then the whole Smithsonian legends and whatnot, or conspiracy, that it's a lot of what looked like very legitimate cases, such as the Illinois cave, I think it's the Brewers Cave, as well as the Burroughs Cave in Utah, both that eventually the discoverers claimed that they were frauds because they were being charged, or would have been charged, with selling a whole bunch of gold that they, you know, are now claiming that they made replicas of, and that it was all a fraud, at which point, you know, they can't be charged because, well, legally they would have had to have provided that gold themselves, and anything they provided themselves and sold that was fake is their own revenue. They just have to pay tax on it. Where the other way that goes is that you then get charged by the government for selling it, or anything that you do find, if it's legit, instantly gets annexed by the government, or these different corporate interest things, and a lot of time never heard of or seen again, often just to be claimed to be debunked. So yeah, I will play this last couple minutes of making fun of going too extreme with it, because it's like the thing is that not maybe 0.001% of the overall mountains or mounds are pyramids, but there's still hundreds of thousands or maybe like a million of them out there that exist and are just waiting to be found. And yeah.
What about the new aerial features that we're finding too, right?
Constantly, like every day throughout South America and North America, as well as Asia, with all the LiDAR and stuff. Like, are you kidding me? No, nature doesn't naturally make these perfect freaking amphitheaters all over the place. Look at, like, what is that?
I love the way that you say frickin'. So sweet.
2 hours later.
But that's legit. Like, oh my god, it just does that look like a dude right there? I don't know.
You got the Cowboys
Like,
there.
Pyramids, CBS to the rescue, blow up some pyramids.
What? The fuck? What? Like, what? Okay, there is no logic to what you are saying. There's no logic there. That's called stupidity.
Many, many minutes later.
Oh man, the progression.
But look at this. Cart ruts? Like, I don't think so. It looks like Maltese shit. Straight rock. How is it? 100% mud. No doubt about it. Cut through with wood carts doesn't make sense.
Yeah, that would have to take a lot of traveling over a long time.
I think ancient Historia just died in the background.
Donkey boy.
I just wanna explore these places. Like, look at this hotel.
You all get over there, buddy?
What the fuck?
I need to mute my mic.
It's
so
in a
loud.
giant rock. Next to these things.
Eight hours later.
Guaranteed. It's awesome because it's true. I think John Levi has won me over. They're all buildings.
Next time, Shem, you need to add hearts.
What the fuck? Like, huh?
John Levy agrees.
I think a lot of them are. When I was traveling to Nashville, I was going past a site called Cave City, Kentucky. When I looked it up on Google just to see what it was, for some reason, all these, like, I guess, cities carved out of rock were showing up on Google. I don't know. I still haven't figured out for sure if it's in Kentucky or not. I couldn't find any information about it, so maybe Google is just giving me random photos from other places, but
I wouldn't be surprised, though. It's fascinating, and it's more places than you suspect. And
this guy is fucking stupid.
That's pretty
yes,
good. Yes,
I made that myself, I swear.
Can we all congratulate Shem on his transformation into Mario?
And Zertis to Luigi, or is
Oh.
it vice versa, right?
You know what? I was actually halfway through that video. I was considering going off shaving this little bit here, and then I was going to come back and be like Andreas. But I mean, he looks more like
dog.
a cop, right? Don't you think he looks like he should be out of Reno 911?
Yes.
If you put him in a
Actually.
brown fucking sheriff's uniform, I'm having it all day. That's it. That's him. But he doesn't know the
Jeremy,
law.
what
He's
do you
that guy.
make
His
of,
I've
first day
never
on the
seen
job
him
is-
not in a Hawaiian t-shirt, at least not in real life.
Ooh, Miami Vice.
Yeah.
Oh, good idea. Damn
Yep.
right.
Now
We
this
should
your
get.
Halloween
Should we put some money together? Should we get him a Hawaiian shirt and force him to wear it on stream?
He's got like 20 of them, dude. That's
Has he got any aviators?
that's like his main
Has he
word.
got
we should all-
aviators
Right?
as well? If
He's
he's
got 20 of them
aviators
with
and a
2,000
Hawaiian shirt,
episodes wearing them.
I
We've
think
actually
for
got-
this Halloween, we should all
we
dress
need to
as each
do. This is
other.
a Halloween thing. This needs to be an
want, like-
everyday
No,
thing.
no.
We
This,
need-
I'm saying like we should all dress as each other, not just
You can't do an
Zertis.
Andreas
Oh, okay.
impersonation.
I'm just
You know,
saying we need to get Andreas right now in a Hawaiian shirt and aviators on this stream. That has to happen.
Yeah, where is he?
I don't know. He hasn't been on WhatsApp in like a month. At this point, I've been considering sending out a pigeon.
put him on milk cartons.
I will resend it on Facebook. I sent it on Instagram, and
Have you seen this YouTuber?
No, you should fox it. You should.
But
Anybody get that reference? You should fox it.
I would like to show
on, Robin Hood Men in
quickly,
Tights,
'cause this
seriously?
is in this is in New Jersey, right by you, Jeremy, or right by Mark, I guess. Is it more? Quite the geoglyph discovery in the Bay, and done by Jim Dillinger.
Attempt at a French Scottish accent.
Do you want to
Name
see the
that
last
movie.
image that the man sent me? Look at this. Right, it's on screen. So you're gonna have to put. You're gonna have to make me. You're gonna have to make me the middle screen because this is horrific.
Should be called.
I can
the
wait. Don't worry.
First Khazarian. Yeah. Because I'll tell you quickly. Okay.
So right here, these are geoglyphs, and just wait and these are canals with geoglyphs that are underwater currently. And then hold on a couple minutes because he goes across a bay and then just shows like just sandbars after sandbars of.
I can also be underwater.
And I think Jim
Well,
was fairly
I'm
close.
not believing that these things are 5 or 5,000 years old or more, dude. Like,
Oh, they could be hundreds. They could be
a couple hundred years of growth. Even if I were to dig out a canal in a StreamYard bed like that, it would be overgrown and completely filled in with organic matter and debris and covered over within a matter of 100 years. This is not. I'm not buying that. These are geoglyphs or that any of this.
Could
is
they have been
ancient.
recently cleared out by the storms and hurricanes, or no? Not really.
This looks like more recent construction. At least those canals, the trenching. It looks like irrigation or drainage that was carved in the there. The thing is, these people, I would love to see, like,
right.
you
So
mentioned
right
that
there,
the guy
there's
that actually
lines.
went out there with a drone. I hate these armchair researchers that just do Google Earth. Like, go to the actual place and.
Well, this is why I'm bringing it up to you, Jeremy, because Mark lives out in this area, right? So that don't you guys
right,
like?
so
Are you guys
is
in
that
this area?
that's obviously a
So
lake,
now
isn't
it's
it?
up to me. So I got to go out to.
Hold
New
on.
Jersey
I
because
still have
live
to
here.
convince you if it's worthwhile.
This proof this.
So
Beavis is
hold
I
on.
mean,
theory.
what are
I'll
you
show
trying?
you
Right.
one more
One second,
portion.
what are you trying to suggest? That those were canals? Because I think that's evident.
Yes, but the geoglyph animals like the seahorse, the whale, the herring here.
Well, there is somebody
the
like running
shark.
around going like, "There's a petrified turtle in Peru, and it's clearly carved."
Yeah,
So,
right.
and there
where
was like something going
it's
on
like
in
the
Reddit.
Nazca geoglyph sort of thing, and that they're in this area of what is obviously this is modern, but it was this ancient stuff, or is this all modern? Like, obviously, Jeremy could be 100% correct, And then he finds on the other side of this bay here. So that was there.
This looks like a copy of the design for every coastal development.
You can see the pockmark lakes, just like you have in northern Canada, Siberia, northern Russia, all the way across.
Here's why I think there's validity to it, because you have what looks like the same sort of pictographic geoglyphs, 30 rows of them at least, on the opposite side of the bay in what is clearly marshes. And that, not up to you yourself, Jeremy, but if you have know anyone or anyone watching in the area, or maybe it might be worth you and Mark and going out on a boat in the drone, who knows, scuba diving, snorkeling. But this is quite a lot.
Where is this located in New Jersey?
Residential area right here. Okay.
The
Lovely
Island.
Look at these houses. These houses are worth a few quid. Okay. This friggin' inlet's a mile long, right? I need a stick. I haven't got one.
I feel like if this is true, there needs to be another example. Not maybe needs, but there most likely would.
This is where Tony Soprano lived, you know? And Frankie Five Fingers or Six Fingers, whatever the fuck you call him. This is a wealthy area. These are big, long inlets. This is where huge ships came in the past, okay? Now, we have a continuation of this here. Look. What goes out goes underwater. Now, if boats are coming in from out there, I reckon this all buoyed off, probably. Dangerous. So they have to come around and they have to come in through here. Okay. Why? No, they don't want you flying over this. They don't want you diving here. They don't want you going here, right? Because this is ancient. This is old world stuff. Now take a look at this. What's this? Tartarian hieroglyphs. Northern Canada, Siberia, northern Russia.
This is the part that's just fascinating. That legit looks like could be like an Egyptian or a Mayan or Inca script sort of thing, or some sort of.
That is wild.
And that
definitely
those are
very cool.
So what could be is that with all the recent storms and activities and hurricanes going in there and storm surges possibly could have cleared all of the what would have been probably brackish sandbars and estuaries out and expose this again. So Arnold Pond, and look at that right up there too. Collins Lower Tide Pond. Look at all of these. Like that is 1000% not pareidolia. That
it was interesting, right? It is in Boston. They had this was what Boston looked like. Most of it was all fens. It was an actual island, and they actually filled it all in the entire back bay with a massive construction project and filled in all this dirt into the area. And but these things look a lot like wet marsh or wetlands and stuff. And these canals that you see that are dug I'm almost saying they're certainly man-made, like after the fact, and I bet you there's some prehistory to that. It's either dredging or canal making as a way to basically to gain access to this hard to this would be impossible for you to have ancient civilizations on this type of land. If you've ever tried to walk in this type of
Even now, accessing that's probably
Yes.
ridiculously hard. You can only see it
But
probably
they
by
dug
drone.
these canals for the purpose of accessing these hard to reach areas through boat by
Probably
boat.
farming shellfish,
This is like
stuff
the
like that.
PNW.
Or
Yeah, quohogs and shellfish,
Remote
and
areas. Yep.
this would be a great area. You'd find you go quahogging in there. I bet you pull out you could pull out 5 pounds of clams in a couple hours. So yeah, I would see. I've been in areas like this. This is most of where I grew up in Massachusetts and Rhode Island.
Philadelphia.
This
Oh,
area.
yeah, New Jersey.
I know
So, closer to
personally, if
Atlantic
you try to
City.
walk out in that marshland and try to like for an ancient culture to build something like that would be almost inconceivable. And I almost guarantee it's like these wetlands that are these sparse pond areas that when they went and dug those canals or dug those trenches, they just dumped the dirt into wherever they could, and it filled in that area in between in these weird areas. And what was left over were these odd shaped bodies of water, which kind of looked like these petroglyphs, but it might be a case
Well, actually,
of
this is one of the things I was looking at, Jeremy, to kind of counter that point. As I was analyzing the petroglyphs, what looked like petroglyphs at least, I was looking for similar characters in similar orientations and then sequences, and I did see many instances of those same similar characters. And so you wouldn't expect dirt to form, a ring with a line coming out of it, a curved line, looks sort of like a 6 or like a 9.
So
there's
specifically, this sort of stuff is obviously all new, and that it's might have been potentially rebuilt, reclaimed off of what was, Atlantean or a seafaring thing from 6,000, maybe 12,000. Most likely, it would have to have been after the Young Adria's timeline, because the water level still on it, sort of thing, and that maybe at the height of the Mayan or Inca or something, anywhere between 7,000 to 1,000, or maybe even up to 500 or 1500 AD pre-Columbus cultures could have been building or made the petroglyphs out of farming the coast, sort of thing, utilizing these ruined canals from the previous macro cataclysm civilization that was the original builder, terraformer, sort of thing, like we suspect with so many of these Bastion Islands and like Nan Madol out in the middle of nowhere, and there's so many new examples.
It looks to me like farming access, because this has got to be like New Jersey shellfish, like central. So a lot of our seafood's probably farmed in these areas. So I don't know. It looks to me like farming areas. I definitely wouldn't put a habitable thing there, because in any kind of like storm surge, or you're just going to get washed out or washed away. It wouldn't make sense for there to be an ancient civilization, building stuff and living in
Well, there's also the
not
massive sandbar barrier that is this perfect, what looks like ridiculously macro terraformed sandbar island that runs along the entire coast, that Long Beach Island right there, that this could have been the remnants of before Cataclysm, that just like today,
Look at that peninsula,
90 or 85% of civilization lives along the coastlines. Back then, probably the same thing too. And then we've just built off of the foundations of the former world, and that's why they were robber barons that came, and Jesuit hidden general genocides and conquerors and conquistadors, as well as what they call the facades put on a lot of buildings. And Elkman, if you're still here, would you be willing to go in more? Do you have the the
I've got it already,
Jesuit
man. I've got my
castle?
window ready to share with you. So when I was
Oh,
doing my
yeah,
research,
there we go.
Yeah, when I was doing my research on Jesuits, some of the castle areas were in this little vicinity, and it's got very similar things, very similar features to what you're seeing there. I do not know what they are. They could be for fishing, but at the same time, I do know that these lands are they're still green for a reason, and they're right in the middle of a lot of stuff. Up here too, near Georgina
This
Island.
is in Hudson Bay, northern Quebec, Canada. Or no, sorry, that's in the Great Lakes. My bad.
No, it's still in Ontario.
No, even better. That's more accessible. Sorry, I zoomed in and
Yeah, so there's lots of these features. Like there's Giant's Tomb Island, which is worth checking out. I'll just type it in.
Giant's Tomb Island, right? And it's like, why do all of these places have such ridiculously ominous, epic names of Giant's Tomb Island?
Yeah, and if you look at this island, you can definitely, like, if you play around with it with 3D, there's features there. But also, all this area was all Iroquois castles when the Jesuits did their research way back in the day. And if you look in this area too, you'll find very, very, very odd land features if they're still here. But I think I shared that Jesuit map with you. I don't have it like handy, but if you overlay that on this one, you'll see a lot of interesting things still match up. And there's a lot of landfills, golf courses, and sacred land that's not going anywhere here. But I did see those features that you had seen before. I've seen them a lot of places in Canada. I'm not really sure what they are either. I think they could be primitive farming as well, but I don't know. What I have noticed before, though, sometimes the closest, like the most direct point is a straight line between two places. So I did notice when I was researching one of these things that in the center of all those dots were trees. So you could tell someone was either traveling by canoe to go to a tree to harvest something and traveling again to the closest point, and it made that path. But I don't think that's the same feature as we're seeing there in
Much love, Jeremy. Thank you for joining us, alien scientist. We will have to do a UFO discussion stream here one of these nights when you have more time. And also,
oh mate, I would love to talk about the aliens. Like when I saw your name, I was like, let's get talking about the UFOs, but we've run out of time. So if we could at some point in the future, I'd love to have a discussion with you.
Yeah, we should play that clip from, talk about this new David Grush stuff and crash retrievals and all that kind of business, man. Let's plan a stream. I'll talk to you later, man. I gotta get going, but I'm gonna jump off here. But I'll text you, Bernie, and we'll set that up for sure. Thanks for inviting me.
I look forward to it. And
take it easy, man.
At the very end of the stream, whatever time that is, once I end it on one of the YouTubes, I will put this up, continuing on Rumble, on Twitch, on Twitter, Facebook, and it is a 24-hour stream of the highlights of the Pentagon testimony, UAP, UFOs, House Intelligence Hearing Committee that needs to be heard. And this is, I've already listened to about an hour of it. That might be the full cycle, but we'll even listen to 20 minutes or so. It's very, very fascinating stuff that it seems, especially individuals such as Jeremy Reese, the alien scientist here, as well as Jeremiah Pop, Exotic Propulsion, and of course Liminal as well with you, are actually eons ahead of anything official or any of the civilian government knowledge as far as and academic science goes of understanding the reality of it, but that they're actually really curious and finally acknowledging that it is all real.
Yeah, it's amazing how people will come forward and give you information when you don't work for the big man. Most of the stuff I've learned has been gracefully gifted because I have no associations or affiliations or NDAs with any company, contract, or any such thing.
Were you wanting to show off a little experiment here, or Luke, Sarah, do you guys got anything to show and tell?
I did forget to tell you that video that you guys were concerned with the copyrights have already uploaded to YouTube, so it's already been checked for that. So
very good.
But where's Shem? He's supposed to be here. I feel he said it's okay, but I do feel like I said I was going to put it on his show. He should probably be here. He was in the chat. Shem,
okay.
Where the hell are you?
It's okay because
Shem was in the chat. Why isn't he here?
He's here in spirit. And let's one more time from beginning to end. Is it still here, or do I have to?
Join the
stream. But you get the Revigator. However, Gerald, if you're listening, you're on hold because you promised me a poem for that video, for the end of that video. So I'm expecting that. Okay. I'll get it ready.
Oops.
This will be this is an unlisted debut. This means it's on my channel, but you're not allowed to see it. You're only going to see it on BurnEye's channel.
For now, of course, it will be re-debuted on Tartarian Truth and Mind Unfailed.
If you've noticed, I'm not anything to gloat about.
It's not only on BurnEye's channel because it's also on the Tao of Frankie and on Mindful Exposures, aka it's on your own channel, dear. So don't worry, you present it now, then the next time you're with Shem, you can just replay the Inception stream and read it.
He's on the road. Everybody tell him to get his ass back so he can get on. But he told.
See, there you go. You have full permission and consent. Shem consents.
He's not my manager, I guess.
You know, just a community of consent. There's no no grass mowing, no cheating and affairs and psychotic murders, and we're good.
Exactly. All right, I'm getting ready to pull it up here. Sorry, I have to get it into Chrome. Yep. Exactly. All right. Do you see it?
No.
No, not you. Sorry. Settle down. Just kidding. There we go.
Oh, I see everything.
Never. All right. Wait, do I need it? Okay, let me know if you can hear audio.
No audio.
That's a negatory.
You need to open your Chrome.
Wait. So
you must have it in the same browser tab, and accounts that you are running the Streamyard Google Chrome in as well, just in a separate but same tab as the Chrome's.
It's in its own window, in its own tab.
When you open the Chrome, did the button appear that says share audio to?
So I know exactly what you're speaking of, and no, it did not.
That bastard got me on Firefox.
God damn it, like it isn't showing up. I'm sorry, guys. Hold on a moment. Let me.
You might have
start
to.
it.
You might have to restart the whole thing and join from Chrome.
Oh, that's.
I think you have to do that. So you have to,
bullshit.
yeah. You have to come in from Chrome.
It's planned obsolescence, eh? I'll see you in a moment.
A goddamn insult, I say.
In the meantime, in honor of. Hello, good sir.
What's going on?
What's happening?
Not too much. Just enjoying some tea.
Look at this freaking battery. Looks like the Indian temples that are carved out of the
You
freaking
need to
bedrock.
stop tricking me with fake versions of Shem.
2 very boring minutes later.
I
Like how
demand
over this
Shem.
earlier, it's been pretty crazy.
1 nap later.
Look at this shit. They're all pyramids. Everything was pyramidal to begin with. You've seen it here first.
Yeah, it's weird. I'm looking that up right now.
Like, look at this cement rebarred freaking fortification and then just a dinky wood watchtower on top. But 3 arches worth of cemented caves going into the sides. Everything is pyramidal. This looks like they just took over some Navajo freaking mountaintop. Looks like some guardians. Looks like another guardian.
What? Like, huh? Are you crazy?
Just mind blowing.
Absolutely mind blowing.
Oh, just the monastery here. No, the monastery made of the only surviving mud brick building castles from around the whole.
After coming across those petrified pieces of wood and looking into it a little bit more, some of these places that are carved into mountains, that sometimes I just start to think that maybe they were just structures before the flood, possibly, and they became, I guess, there's carved out type mountain looking structures after the flood, maybe. But obviously that's just
I do have
a
that.
random
I did get the experiment to have these set up correctly here, so you can
theory.
see some of
You're
the
a stupid dumbass.
Like something fucked this shit right up, but experiment, you say? All right, enough of my stupid dumbass on Canada Day. Let us take a look at what Jeremiah has to say. Oh, and Lucifer, there you are, shining all bright from the colonial home of empire. The day that Canada is celebrating breaking away from America, celebrating 3 days now. Poor ancient Historia still stuck.
Hey, just so you know, bro, the English are as much fucking slaves as you guys were. Like, we're controlled by London, which is something different from Britain. Like, most British people don't
everyone
understand this,
under
but
the
they're
empire
oppressed.
is controlled by London. That's exactly what we're celebrating breaking away from, is frickin' London.
Exactly. So I'm still stuck in it. That's why I've got hell as the background. You thought it was hell, but it's actually just my street. This is what it looks like. Yeah. So I get a good view of that. That's what Britain looks like. Anyway, carry on.
Definitely stuck in it too.
Oh, you're stuck in Britain.
America.
America.
Frankie is in America.
Land of the free.
All right, so hopefully this works. My audio is going to get pretty terrible here. I'm just going to show you. A Van de Graaff generator is normally a triboelectric device that generates power based on friction and charge transfer. This particular one is not. It operates with two metal rollers, two aluminum rollers on, one on top, one on bottom. And so charges that are added to the system are completely injected onto the belt directly via an ionization source. And once I replace the current ionization source with a more efficient one, which should be about 10 times the performance, this thing will really be pushing the boundaries. But here's what I've noticed. And this is where it gets weird. I don't know if you can hear me, so just let me know. Can you still hear me over here?
We can hear you loud and clear.
Okay, so here's where it gets weird. If I have the same electrostatic charge in terms of the voltage that you can measure from an influence machine like a Van de Graaff generator or a Wimshurst, if I compare what that charge does and the forces that I can get out of it, and how they respond with other objects compared to if I have, say, a voltage multiplier that has the same amount of voltage and many times more current. It's funny because the influence machines will act really strangely, and I think the reason for why they'll make things levitate and move stuff around and charge other objects in the room that were nowhere near them, whatnot, why they generate sprites, which I'll show you in a moment. You'll actually see a simulation of the sprites that are produced during a thunderstorm that shoot up into space from the top of the clouds. You're going to see that same positive lightning come out of the top load here, and it won't be particularly bright, but you should be able to see it, hopefully well enough. I'll try to turn up my, I'll see if I can turn up my exposure on here. I may not have control over that in Streamyard. But, anyways, the electrostatics, the charges are freed. They're not ground referenced. So the impedance of the system, of the terminal that these charges are on, can dynamically change extremely quickly because it's basically coupled to virtually nothing but the space around itself. Whereas with a voltage multiplier or other source like that, the impedance can't change because it's connected directly to something else, which is tied to ground. And so hopefully I'll be able to show some of this stuff. I'm going to start it up. It will be kind of noisy, and I'll do the demo and then explain it after.
Anyone else think this looks like a fucking horror movie so far?
Oh,
Slightly sounds like fun.
Look, it's just a hand appearing from fucking underneath. Like, sorry, I shouldn't swear. Hand appearing from freaking underneath. Go on, bro. You touch that electricity.
Freaking laser beams and plasma arcs on Canada Day, all right?
Freaking laser beam.
Yeah, that's fun.
Make a fire.
I have this video of Jeremiah shooting bolts out of his hand. You probably should upload that too.
Do you mean like electric bolts or like bolts?
Yeah, it's a short video of him making a fist and shooting like bolts at a wall. It's pretty good.
All right, so that horrific sound is off now. Anyways, that's the charges will tend to change their impedance, which means that the voltage can go up or down freely once they're there because they're free to move around. This is part of the whole flying saucer tech. So to bring back in this UAP phenomena, flying saucers inject charge into the air around them or use a mechanism to ionize the air through radio waves. And basically this makes the air very conductive. So now it can be moved by magnetic and electric fields quite easily. Ironically, the idea is still valid in deep space because you can use the relativistic acceleration of electrons and pull them against an orthogonal axis to also propel yourself through space, basically with your own onboard recycled propellant being the electron cloud. So the technology is viable, but you do need free charges that are not attached to ground that can move around. And the way that you do that is by carrying them physically with some medium or having basically what we call the perfect diode. which doesn't really exist. So we just use, charge transport. This can make stuff fly. And if we get enough potential, which I'm working on a new version now that will, then we'll be able to do some demos of fairly heavy things that you wouldn't expect to be able to levitate, sitting there floating.
I will fly. I will do it.
I still want my flying car, man. I'm shooting after it.
I can tell that you're asking for
still
somebody
want
to.
my flying disc before it's all said and done, and it's.
We'll get you your flying dick. Don't worry about that. But first,
I want to hoverboard dune buggy.
Oh, I guess there is one more thing I can kind of show here too, which is this thing. This is a weird little project by Richard Mahler.
The flying proto dick.
So nothing special about it. It's just a ball with two stainless steel nuts raised on the sides, and so the ball is stainless. The nuts are stainless. So this is going to be able to take pretty well.
We can't hear you, child. You're too far away.
Okay, so sorry. So it's going to be able to handle a hydride solution pretty well. And what's going to go inside of it is, and I've just got these here.
So you're going to lube up the ball, is that what you're saying?
Chlorinated tungsten electrodes. The 2% thorium content in these electrodes is radioactive, and it's a beta emitter, so it's going to pump out electrons. It'll help stimulate the gap. And so two of these electrodes are basically going to go inside, and they're going to be spaced pretty close to each other, so that when an electrical arc occurs between them, the entire sphere will be filled with a hydroxy solution of water, and it'll be so full and basically degassed that when the plasma, in terms of the arc event between the electrodes, occurs, the gas has nowhere to go. It's a pressurized vessel, so the electrons go flying off, and the protons completely destabilize because they can't physically move away from each other. So once the electrons get stripped off, they would normally just recombine. They swirl around the conductive electrolyte and recombine. But in this case, the pressure is so high that they have no place to go. So everything kind of takes up less space. The protons slam together, you get fusion of hydrogen into helium. And then all the freed electrons that need to come back into the system later will actually be initially pushed off and collected by the ball. And then you take those against an external reference, like a ground, and you can just pump power into and out of this thing using water cavitation and fusion as a catalyst. So it directly produces electricity, which is one of the coolest things about it that I really got to give Mahler credit on this, because most fusion systems would need a complex system of like conversion from the steam, or heat into steam or some other mechanism like that, or thermal differentials like you see on some nuclear batteries on satellites using Peltiers and or thermocouple piles to extract energy. But in this case, it just directly produces electrons. It frees them from the atoms, and then they have to come rushing back in at the end of the cycle. So it's pretty awesome. So we'll soon be testing that. Fusion in a ball.
Science.
Well, two balls, there's so much to it. It's interdimensional science, my friend.
Science.
Well, who knows what happens when you start to get fusion events, what happens from our perspective of dimensionality. But I can guarantee you it doesn't obey a flat space-time.
Science.
Did you say flat space-time? Oh, dear.
Be careful about...
Well, I said I can guarantee you it doesn't obey a flat space-time.
Who cares?
I quickly have to show off some, since it's Canada Day, the theme of red matter is this red copper right ahead here, and then I found a video of red copper that ignited aluminum foil and burnt right through it that I had forgot about from one of my first experiments. And this red state metamaterial possibilities of, I don't know, super freaking What's the best way to describe it, JP? What is the metamaterial? The breakthrough
Well, in the
that
simple
it
definition, it's a material which possesses properties not found in nature. But I would actually look at it more, I would redefine it as a material which exhibits exotic properties not expected of its composition. So this would be, materials that have really complicated geometric forms or are made of certain exotic materials such as left-handed spin molecules entirely composed and arranged in a certain lattice. Those kinds of things exhibit weird properties. Viktor Grebennikov with a left-hand spin chitin in this specifically shaped geometric cell of an insect wing is another fine example of that. So, and then the water forming its own hexagonal shape when it goes into the exclusion zone and forms this easy water with a higher energy state, as Gerald Pollack discovered. So there's lots of examples where we see the importance of structure and charges in motion, where they do really strange things gravitationally, energetically, and I think they all operate by screwing with the local rate flow of time, or you could say, interacting with a large amount of energy to create an energy imbalance so that the refractive index is changed.
Jeremiah.
Science. Yes.
Could I ask you a question?
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
What do you think the Ark of the Covenant was, scientifically?
I can tell you where it's buried if you want.
There's multiple arcs, aren't there?
Kind of. Well, that's one way to believe it. If you actually want to go by the history, finally, been waiting, some history. If you want to go by the history, it literally was one object that seemingly left Egypt, which is, well, they say it was built in Egypt. The idea behind it was that God appeared. I'm going to try and not appear as the flaming background while I talk about the Bible. But originally God appeared as a flaming bush, and he was like, I don't really like appearing as a bush, so would you make a box for me? And this is where it's quite fun, because when you think about what an ark is, it's a vessel, right? It's like a boat. An ark, a boat is a vessel. It's something you travel in, right? So,
well, it's a container that something travels in.
Yeah. So if you imagine that God beforehand, this is if you just want to go purely from a biblical point of view, God beforehand is appearing as bushes, assuming that it's probably on drugs. The guy is probably on drugs, and God has been like, bro, we need to talk without the drugs. So make this box. And one thing that I think really makes this possible is what the box was supposedly made of, which is gold. I know that gold vibrates at the same rate as water, and we're 70% water molecules. The molecules in gold vibrate exactly the same. So I thought it was maybe possible, if we go into the realms of vibrations and all that, that what they were creating was almost like a body, something that God could vibrate into,
Man, if you said it well, like I realistically don't have any disagreements with that. I would just get into more details on specifics.
Well, that's what I mean. So imagine if before God makes a full body for himself, he creates this little box, this kind of like, well, a piece of me can travel in it. And they call it the Ark of the Covenant. The covenant could refer to a lot of things, but the main covenant, well, there's two main covenants, but the real main one is the covenant made with David, with King David, which basically said, when you die, I'm going to take one of your descendants and make them the Messiah, which is why we have Messiah ben David, which is a confusing concept for Christians, because they never hear about this, which they think that Jesus is the only Messiah. But there's in Jewish Kabbalistic religion particularly, you have two Messiahs. One is Messiah ben Yosef, and the other is Messiah, is proper pronunciation, Messiah ben Yosef and Messiah ben David. And that's where it starts to get confusing, because you have this covenant between God and David, who literally says, right, you're my boy, and in the future, your son or your descendant will be my dude, really. And he literally says, I will be like when you die, I'll be like a father to him, and he'll be like a son to me, and he will do my work on earth. So people, the Christians in particular, were very hard to try and like portray this one as being Jesus when it's very clearly not. And this fits in with what the Quran says, because if you actually look into where Islam came from, it split away from this is going to like the ideas of like flamenco and stuff like that, but it's supposedly split away from Nestorian Christianity. So when basically Christianity started saying like, you know, Jesus is actually the Son of God, the Islamists were basically like, no, he isn't. We know he isn't. And that's where Islam kind of came from, that they split away from that idea that Jesus was the Messiah, whereas they were like, no, he's a prophet. And they say he even told you as a prophet, which I think is quite pertinent, because we've probably all heard of the Monty Python film, you know, Life of Brian. And he's saying, I'm not the Messiah. And he's like, that is clearly the Messiah. And I think that actually, without people realizing it, has a deeper meaning to it, because Jesus is saying like, no, I'm just a prophet. I'm here to tell you about the Messiah. And they're going, he's the Messiah. And he's like, no. No, I'm not the Messiah. There's a guy coming and he's the Messiah. And they just list him as the Messiah, because the point is control. And if you think that a Messiah is coming, then you will
be looking for
that. Whereas if you think the Messiah has already been, then you'll behave different. Like, oh, Jesus, he came, he died for my sins, he got crucified, and now I'm saved. Thank you. Cheers, Jesus. Whereas if you understood that there was like a second Messiah coming, and there was, well, an actual Messiah coming, and there was like a something in the future, you'd behave differently. Do you know what I mean?
Oh, I agree that you'd behave differently if that was the case. I don't necessarily agree that that's the case, but it's something interesting.
No, 100%. But I think that Jesus, like from my point of view, like what I've researched, like Jesus survived his crucifixion. He was a mortal man who knew full well what he's doing. He did. He spoke to God, pretty certain through some type of hallucinogenic drugs. They often talked about Jesus going off into the spirit, which is Bible talk for doing drugs. You know,
I mean, there's all kinds of crazy talk about him walking through walls and just appearing somewhere out of nowhere, and you know.
Well, the main miracles that he's actually, well, I say miracles, the main prophecies he's actually seen as fulfilling were riding the donkey into Jerusalem, which he was aware of. He literally said himself that he was aware of that prophecy, and he knew that it would stir a riot in Jerusalem. So going purely off the historical accounts of what actually occurred, it seems as if Jesus attempted to cause a uprising in Jerusalem, and he got a lot of Jewish people by his side. They caused an uprising, but it was quelled by the Romans. The city of Jerusalem was ran by Pontius Pilate, who, whilst he wasn't Jewish himself, he was ruler of the country, and and he just wanted everything to kind of be okay, right? The Emperor of Rome at the time was actually a dude that was barely involved at all. He lived on a tiny island. He didn't care at all about what was going on in his empire. He just wanted to do his own thing. And he just had this issue with one of his people trying to overthrow the empire, and he had him killed. And basically, he got this word through that Jerusalem was having an uprising, and his response was like, "Well, kill them all. Just kill all the Jews." Right? So they had this issue, and they actually captured Jesus's real son, which is a guy called Jesus Barabbas. Which, if you look into when Pontius Pilate is saying, do you want me to execute Jesus, or do you want me to execute this man? And they actually call the other dude Jesus Barabbas, which Barabbas is just the son of Jesus. Basically, they'd caught the son of Jesus, who was only a young kid, but they caught him, and they said to him, we've got your son. So Jesus organized a trade, which he said, if you give me Jesus, my son back, I will get captured. And when it talks about Judas coming up and kissing Jesus and say, for this is the guy, and they take him away, they talk about a young boy being released from linen and he runs free. Well, that boy is Jesus' son. So Jesus organized this whole thing where basically he got captured by the Romans. Pontius Pilate allowed his crucifixion to take place in the gardens of Joseph of Arimathea, who was a prominent person. He was a friend of Jesus. In the Bible, it says that he brought Jesus to England when he was age 12, which, I mean, I don't know about you, but that sounds a bit weird. Like, imagine Jesus telling, like, Mummy, Daddy, I'm going to England with this man. You'd be like, okay, Jesus. But it makes sense when you understand it was afterwards. This is why the church has tried to hide it. So basically, they faked the crucifixion.
It's like back in the day.
Things were different in the day. Yeah, you could go to Britain with an older man. Like,
if you're into Prodigy, you just have
days on it.
But literally, that's what it was. So, if you look at the text, they talk about hyssop, right? So when he's being crucified, this is the biggest example. Usually, when someone's being crucified, it takes at least 5 days. It's a horrible death, and most of them actually die from suffocation because their arms eventually break, and they literally are hanging. And they can't breathe because the weight is up here and they can't breathe and they actually suffocate. And it takes about 5 days for that to occur, right? So the way that this system was, right, there is a rule that they couldn't do crucifixions during Passover. And the Romans abided by this because they understood that the Jews would get livid if you broke this rule. So Jesus was actually set up to be crucified on the Friday before Passover. It began on the Saturday, right? So they only had a short amount of time, and he was crucified with 2 other dudes that were thieves. At the end of the night, they came to the people. And they actually broke the legs of the other 2 thieves. And again, this is in the Bible. They broke the legs of the other 2 thieves because when they break the legs, the same thing happens. Your weight is pressed down and you suffocate. But with Jesus, they didn't. They didn't do the same thing. It's like they'd been paid off, basically. They've been paid to just allow Jesus. And he'd been given hyssop, which is essentially old world morphine or heroin. Again, this is in the Bible. A woman comes up and squeezes a sponge into Jesus's mouth, and it actually says hyssop. It's literally squeezing.
Man, I never knew that. That is super.
Yeah, it's squeezing literal morphine into the mouth of Jesus, so he gets knocked out. Right, the guy is surgically knocked out. All right, and you got to remember as well, Jesus was from the Essene group of the Judaism, right? So the Essenes were known as healers. They were aware of this stuff. So anyway, this happens, they release him, his body goes to Pontius Pilate, and when Joseph of Arimathea goes to claim the body, in the actual text, it doesn't say corpse, it says live body, like that release the live body back to Joseph of Arimathea instead of corpse. So basically what's happened is Jesus has had a fake crucifixion. He's appeared to be dead at the end of the night because Passovers began. The Romans have broke the legs of the other 2 thieves and just killed. They've died. But Jesus, they've been told not to do that with. So he appears dead. He's unconscious. And they're all like, yep, he's pretty dead. Everyone sees him like, yep, that looks pretty dead. And then they take him down. They put him in in the cave. And that's where he gets worked on with some healers that basically bring him back and say, look, you got to leave now. So he has to leave. He has to leave all those areas because he has to go somewhere where Rome doesn't control yet, because obviously he's wanted. And that's 100% what the records would show is happening. I mean, even the Da Vinci Code kind of goes into it a little bit. Obviously, you don't believe that shit, but it talks about him having a family and therefore being human, and it destroying the religion. But it's the same thing. Because if people understood that he didn't, come back from the dead, he just faked it, then that's where it starts to unwind the story. Because you got to remember as well, the Romans, they didn't agree with Christianity until 324 AD, when the Council of Nicaea decided under Constantine, Emperor Constantine, they decided that we want Jesus to be deified, and the Arians, as in actual Arians, they disagreed with it, and they all had a vote, because that's how it worked. They had a vote, and they moved the vote forward 2 hours. So the Arians turned up at the agreed time, and we're like, right, we're here for the Jesus vote, and they're like, sorry, mate, he's already a god. And they livid, and that's actually how Jesus became deified. Because obviously before that,
We
everyone
have
knew
a Shem live with us. Good day, sir.
we got him. But yeah, so anyway, that's actually how it happened. Like before 324 AD, everyone was agreed that Jesus
going
was
on?
just prophet, and then they changed the story because the Romans had to control it. You see, before 324 AD, Jesus's religion was spreading, and people were starting to be nice to each other. So the Romans were like, right, we need to get hold of this. We need to take over this religion, and they took it, they twisted it, and when here's your Jesus guy, he's the Messiah. When it wasn't that, like Jesus was trying to tell you about. He was literally like the Prophet Muhammad, a prophet.
The Jesuit genocidal general, aka military wing of the Roman Empire of the Church. You say?
You sound pretty German.
Well, the interesting thing about Constantine too is if you look at Constantine's triumphal arch, it's still around today. There's not a single mention of Christianity on the arch. So there's a debate whether or not he even actually converted to Christianity or not.
Well, people say that he converted to Christianity at the end, but one thing you've got to know about him is that he was British, right? His mum was called Empress Helen, and she was the daughter of King Cole II, who was a British king, right? Constantine, or was it Constantius Chlorus, which is Constantine's father? He was emperor, came to Britain, married this woman, Helen, had a son called Constantine, who was literally raised in Britain as a British Christian, which is called British Apostolic Christianity. And him and Helen, when he went over to Constantinople, because he obviously founded apparently Constantinople, he said he was trying to found not a new Rome but a new Troy, which is interesting. But there are theories that his entire movement was to hide the fact that Jerusalem wasn't where it was, and that his mission over there was kind of just to move the stories away from where it really happened. But the main point to take away from it is the dude was born in Britain to a British mother. Obviously, his dad's not British, but yeah, he himself is half British, born in Britain, was a British emperor.
Anglo-Saxons ruling again.
Not Anglo, no, not Anglo-Saxon. Anglo-Saxons hadn't even moved into the country until about 100 years later.
Oh, so this is someone the Anglo-Saxons murdered to take over London, and then today Canadians are celebrating breaking away from those evil colonial bastard monarchies.
Well, here's the fun thing: Anglo-Saxons are actually Scythians. So you've got Anglo-Saxons, Jutes. All of them, they're all Scythians. They moved over during the Hun invasions of Europe. When Attila the Hun was moving in, they all tried to jump over into Britain. They had some colonies. In fact, the Romans invited them in at one point because the Romans wanted Britain retaking, because Britain just kept getting away from the empire. And they actually employed a load of these Scythian tribes, who were called Germanic tribes, to invade Britain. And that's where the Anglo-Saxons came from. Yeah. Well, I mean, Scythians are Tartarians, so if you want to look at it like that, Tartarians are invading. But yeah.
It's an interesting theory. I mean, I can't really say, or speculate on a lot of that because it's linking parts of history that I'm not familiar with. I've done my research as far as the things I've looked at, and that's all I can really give an opinion on historically. But it's a very interesting idea, and I think, as far as mechanisms of action and possibility, it's curious enough to, I guess, give some credence to investigate.
Shem, do you want to go in a little bit more? Any more developments on you were investigating that the world record, Guinness World Book of Record, recognized several living homunculus, and that they recognized the longest living homunculus that they were created, and essentially the possibility that you can play God by
We lose him.
That was some dope research, dude.
growing freaking clones or mixtures of beasts and clones with eggs in jars.
Well, first of all, I'm not the one who came across that information. It was Mind Unveil who discovered it. I saw it in their video, and basically what I did was I just went to the Guinness World Record website and looked up the criteria for what you have to do to be on there, and then I emailed them to ask if they have any records on their website specifically that don't fit the criteria of their vetting process. So I got an email back from them about a week later. I'll get that email up and I'll show you the actual world record itself. So just to be clear, I'm not the one who discovered this. I just investigated it further because Mind Unveiled just briefly mentioned it in their Homunculus video that they released recently. But it's pretty crazy. I'll pull it up right now.
Right? And shout
And one
out
last thing
Mind
before we move
Unveiled.
on from-
That was like, it was what, 8 or 9 hour Homunculus research extravaganza. Like, I still need to watch the last 2 hours out of it. And just, it's every time it just creeps the fuck out of me because it's like, I think I'm literally growing parts of Homunculus in my jars and have a pretty decent idea of how to probably actually grow a real Homunculus. Like,
my question is, do you really believe that?
well, look, like, listen to this. Look what freaking Shum's gonna just sharing here.
In the Homunculus?
Like, Guinness Book of Records, like, accepts that 400 or
Very
500 year old
opinion on it.
things, but then the process, I think it's legit. Like, from some of the shit I've grown, just like what look like blood cells and like basic building block cells of what you'd fill with your homunculus genetics.
Well, I guess I'll bring up this theory too, which we haven't talked about. And just imagine what if, say, your system that generates that very strange, unusual gel, what if that contains proteins that didn't exist in the original samples? I mean, wouldn't that be kind of a fascinating phenomenon?
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, the gel is like the nano cell building block things that, like, when you insert the genetic material into or whatever the heck, it just naturally reproduces and turns into whatever the heck you want. Like, it could be as simple as saltwater jars with a little bit of current, and you can play God mixing your own DNA with like a freaking female tiger egg, and if you did it right, you could potentially have a half human, half tiger freaking running around. Like, I don't know, maybe. Especially in this day and age, like, is that not essentially what this freaking cloning and CRISPR technology is?
Buddy, somebody says you sound like the Emperor. Buddy, somebody in the comments says you sound like the Emperor from Star Wars. Rebel scum.
Okay, so yeah, this is the email that I sent to the Guinness World Records. I just said, just wondering if all the records listed on your website go through your verification process. Do you include some records that don't fit the criteria on this website? And then a week later, I got a response that says, thank you for contacting us. Any record listed on the Guinness World Records have been reviewed by our staff, including expert partners and consultants. So it does say that this is an automatically generated email, so I'm not sure if it was an AI response or what, but they did respond, and they said that everything on the website is verified by their experts. So this is what it says on the actual website. I shared it in the private chat if you want to copy and paste it for people who want to click on it in the regular chat.
Execute.
But it says in 1500 in Austria, homunculi were living human-like entities reputedly created during medieval times by alchemists from various organic secretions and other biological substances, as well as from certain mystical elements such as the arcanum of human blood. They were usually very small, but the largest on record measured roughly 30 centimeters tall, 8 in number, These were allegedly created during the 16th century by Count Johann Ferdinand von Kufstein and Abbe Galoni, and were apparently viewed by several very notable personages at that time. So they're giving us some details here, so you can take what you want with that and decide if you believe it or not. Obviously, this is just the Guinness World Records. I'm not sure why this would be here. If I guess it could be a side thing. It's just really weird.
You missed the best part, man. You missed the best part. Can I read the best part?
Go for it.
One of them allegedly escaped when its jar was accidentally broken, but it died at once, and its remains were said to have been buried somewhere in the ground of Custenson's whatever residence. And I tried to Google Earth that, and you can't find it. Someone Google Earth it for me right now.
It's Kufstein's Tyrolean residence. God damn it!
Google Earth it for me.
Yeah,
running around going like, "What the fuck, man?"
One of them allegedly escaped its captivity and started a corner shop in New York.
Somewhat.
Yeah, apparently they have to be inside the jar in order to stay alive, according to
Hermes had these guys around too, according to the Alchemist text and such.
So
I'm afraid the Star Fort will be quite operational.
What do we got going on here? Oh, there we go.
It's me, Mario.
Are you looking at some homunculus? Homunculi?
I'm afraid not.
Quite possibly. And
trying to get this. Where is that friggin' one? I think is this it?
I'm afraid the Star Fort is quite operational. I am not your father.
There we go. Still learning Streamyard.
None of you expect me to be the real emperor.
then you have however many eons of actual erosion and life and decay and stuff that has gone on since then.
Yeah,
like,
so what do you have in those jars? Are those
sleeping
actually,
dude
are you trying to
here,
create a homunculi?
giant guy behind this, and like this natural amphitheater in Colorado? Like, are you kidding me? No,
Believe it or not, but each
doesn't
one of those jars
naturally
actually
make
contains one of my children.
amphitheaters all over the place.
And there he went there.
What is that?
And on that bomb,
that's the whole debate, though. They talk about whether you need to have
2
organic
hours
material.
later.
But
whether you need to have.
Hey Jem, can you believe this video someone's made that looks exactly like your work and uses all your video clips? Isn't that
So weird.
insane?
Does that look
Yeah.
like a dude right there?
Well, I did share all of the stuff with people so they can make their own. You got the Cowboys there.
Pyramids, CBS to the rescue. Blow up
You have
some
a human
pyramids.
torso in the background.
What?
Apparently, someone has a human torso in the background. Someone would have saw that.
To what you are saying.
Get that off
There's no
stream.
logic there.
Come on, guys.
That's
Be
called
professional.
stupidity.
Hide the torsos.
The T-shirt thing. No, I'm still making parodies. It's just on another channel.
Many minutes later.
Will someone please hide all the torsos? The health inspectors will be
But
here
look
soon.
at this. Cart ruts? Like, I don't think so. It looks like Maltese shit.
DSP owes me
Straight
$12.
rock. How is it cut through with wood carts? Doesn't make sense.
Yeah, that would have to
I
take
see.
a lot of traveling over a long time, I'm guessing.
It was definitely mud. It was definitely real contracts.
Such great input.
I just wanna explore these places. Like, and look at this hotel. Like, what the fuck? It's in a giant rock.
That Powerpuff Girls video was pretty funny.
Next to these things.
Imagine if shapeshifter meant he was just like a really good dancer.
Later.
Like, you know, maybe that's it. Like Jesus was throwing shapes. He was just like fucking going for it. He was like the Michael Jackson of his era, and the
I
Romans were like, we
think
need to
John
kill this guy.
Levi has won me over. They're all buildings.
What the fuck? Like, huh?
I think a lot of them are. When I was traveling to Nashville, I was going past a site called Cave City, Kentucky, and when I
You
looked
guys
it up
are
on
really dumb.
Google just to see what it was, for some reason, all these, like, I guess cities carved out of rock were showing up on Google. I don't know. I still haven't figured out for sure if it's in Kentucky or not. I couldn't find any information about it, so maybe Google is just giving me random photos from other places, but
I wouldn't be surprised, though. It's
look at that.
Fascinating, and it's more places than you suspect. And
Do you think it's offensive to call them experiments? You should call them children. Oh, we've been black screened.
Something happened.
Life, that's what happened, Shem.
Sorry, I was just uploading some short clips here that I recorded of some of Jeremiah's experiments that might be in a better format to view.
Bernie, can you share my screen real quick? I want to, since that Cave City, Kentucky thing came up, I want to show real quick what I'm talking about. Shem, Ham, and Japheth. Shout out to the boys. Bernie.
Sorry about that. My God. All right. That tablet was ridiculous. And I just want to state that I have actually decreased the amount of blood, spit, and hair that biological material I put into the jars since this information of Homunculus have come out. And no, I have never actually tried to make a Homunculus.
It's alive!
But goddamn,
what were you trying to do? Not that.
Why the F does all of it turn into white goopy stuff that looks like every jar is filled with failed attempts at Homunculus is the worst part.
After finding out Bernie's been trying to clone himself, we all feel a little bit sick. Let's move on to the next section.
Well, we could get into there is one particular reason why you might want to link your DNA. If you want to create a temporal reference point using a high voltage scalar emitted potential through a strong rotating ionic field, which is one way to potentially approach making a portal or a wormhole, as you might think. It's a reference point. It creates a stressed point in space-time, and it's geologically located. So you can program these things, and you might want to actually use in the tool that you operate to implement this type of portal some of your own DNA if you wanted to have some kind of way to link back to that same field and encode that into the flux that's being radiated. But other than that,
yeah, so that's literally why I would put my blood on it, is that I found that when I dropped some blood into the electrolysis reaction, it would start flaking up this white nanomaterial off the cathode side on the paired with the atomic hydrogen, and essentially make this foam that Keshi called the amino acids, that when you'd coat your coils with and then power the triple solenoid coil, it would create the plasma field that is resonating at your specific biofrequency of replicating your blood. And that we went over it in a past stream, that it's essentially this sponge, what was it called, nano sponge material or something, that it's very similar to, Jeremiah?
I'm not familiar with the nanosponge reference in terms of blood, but
okay, I got the word wrong. Anyways,
biological time reference thing.
Back to Shems, and then we will show the ridiculously awesome-looking toroid setup you got going on.
Yeah, I don't know if this is actually in Kentucky or not, but when you search Cave City, Kentucky, which is by Mammoth Cave, these photos pop up on Google for some reason.
Are you serious? And
it looks like-
dinosaurs.
It looks like underground, like an underground city or something, but I don't know how legit this is. So if anyone lives in the area, let us know.
Like that looks like Cappadocia, Turkey, and that if there's actually dinosaur bones, megafauna, and what looks like an advanced mountain city in Kentucky.
I guess so. And the weirdest thing about it is when you look over here at the weather section, it has this Nazi SS symbol.
Oh man, I never noticed that.
So that's just
Literally, like verbatim. Holy cow! Look at that.
But yeah, I'm done.
Oh, that was
Oh,
great.
well,
Yeah, sometimes they're just too good not to really point out. That's fantastic. I can't believe I've never seen that before. It's probably there in the subconscious floating around like, you've seen something strange. You recognize that?
They would love to do that.
Oh,
Mammoth
that's
Cave
great.
is the biggest cave
Just a
there is.
little SS lightning coming your way.
I'll take their technology, but not their policy.
Didn't we do that already? So did the Soviets.
Yeah, well, by we, I'm referring here
Or
to
the other
West.
way around happened. We thought it went that way, but in fact, it was the opposite.
The Soviets did develop it.
Oh, wow.
The Soviets worked a lot with.
Yeah, so this is Jeremiah's work right here.
Actually, that's a Tesla coil made by Patrick.
Oh, is that
Patrick?
Patrick?
Yeah, that's
Tesla
based on
too.
the
What
tiny
the
circuit
fuck
that
is
I
that?
created.
Yeah, well, while you were talking, I managed to find some higher quality videos to show this time. Hopefully, it's coming through more clearly.
Oh, it looks so much better.
It's
SS trying to
pretty
kill my
freaking
great
epic.
grandfather. Amazing.
The frequency is so damn high on that, though. That's why it's generating this kind of, ghostly effluvia that seems to crawl around. And actually, most plasma globes will do the same thing if you get the frequency high enough.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Not bad for a light bulb.
Yeah, it came
What?
through really clear.
What happens if you use a fluorescent? Nothing.
Do you think
Oh,
you
it just
set
lights
one
up
of those?
crazy
You
bright.
get
That's
superpowers?
Even more.
Fluorescence, you can actually see the dielectric field position. So, like, they'll light up on the ends, but there'll be this weird dead spot in the middle, right where the dielectric field is equivalent to zero potential, and you have these two field nodes that are basically destructively interfering. So what that tells you is that it's a radiated potential, and it really does move through three-dimensional space, and it polarizes the vacuum. So when the two radio waves pass through the same region of space-time, they seem to disappear, but even though you can't see it in the lamp, something else does happen. The energy doesn't just disappear completely, it actually changes the rate flow of time.
It's fascinating.
And then I had another little clip here of Jeremiah demonstrating capturing this one small particle. Let me.
Oh, you're gonna show some laser levitation here using
Yeah. I'm just gonna remove this from the stream, and
I need to know who
then-
Jeremiah is.
Exotic.
Oh, that's exotic propulsion over here.
You're speaking with Jeremiah.
Wait, what? Which? Oh, right. Okay.
So there we've got a 515 nanometer. I know that's the 505 nanometer.
Look at the
It's a
beam.
gain-guided diode, and it's going through a double lens
Whoa.
assembly. So what I'm doing is taking the tip of the Sharpie there, and I'm dipping it into the beam at the focal point. And the beam is evaporating some of that dye on the Sharpie, and then the light, the photonic pressure, is actually grabbing hold of it, and it's keeping it there, holding it in place, just like a tractor beam. And so if I change the focal angle, I can actually move that dot around. But if there's any air currents that are a little bit too strong, it will blow that away, because here we're only talking about 25 milliwatts of power. It's a very tiny amount of power. If you want to talk Star Trek numbers, the tractor beam draws anywhere between 580 kilowatts for small objects up to about 50 megawatts. So there's a lot more power that you could put into this. And here's the interesting thing: this does not just work with lasers or visible light. This works with radio waves. So you can grab big objects that are real heavy, and if they have enough transmit power, tractor beam.
And suspend them in it like a.
Suspend them, move them around, bring them towards your craft, push them away from yourself. fling an asteroid if you really want to.
Interesting. What's the biggest thing you've ever suspended before?
I cannot
And
talk
this is
about
Jeremiah shooting bolts out of his hand.
This is an interesting video. So we got about 4 to 6 inch
I
long
just
lightning
laughed
bolts
at
coming out of
Shem.
my
I'm
hand.
sorry.
I'm
What's
walking
the
around with
biggest
this.
thing you've ever suspended?
Oh yeah, I'm walking around with this device called the electric magic wand, and I've just touched it to a grounded object on one side, so my body becomes the conductor for all the energy that's flowing through this wand, and it'll build me up to about 130,000 volts, and then I can discharge that energy where and when I want to with my body, just by using basically the sharpest points and the closest objects, the electromotive force.
You can't comprehend my power.
Oh, you should see us on the Tesla coil, man, shooting out 12-foot long lightning bolts as they roar. You can literally hear the thunder because it's cracking apart the air. It's unbelievable.
Speaking of thunder, I actually uploaded a video of the wand, and you can really hear it crackle. I recorded it in slow motion, so.
Oh yeah, here's what this device I'm holding on to can do. We call it lightning craft.
You just said the wand, and I don't know if you guys.
It doesn't have, Dragon Heartstring or Phoenix Feather in the center, but it is loaded with a bunch of capacitors and diodes, and it cranks out a crap load of power. It's kind of ridiculous.
Yeah, it's loaded. I'm trying to play it.
Let me show you my wand.
Oh, I guess there's no sound on this one, but it is a pretty loud thunder when you record it in slow motion. That is how many volts?
It says you can unmute the sound, maybe, Liminal.
Oh, did I mute it?
Unlimited power.
Oh, let's back this up. Can you hear it?
Yes.
There you go. That's a lot of power coming out of there.
This thing is strong enough to do the whole, Wingardium Leviosa feather levitation. And it's the small one, too.
That's legit real lightning, basically.
It looks even cooler in person, man.
Right, now the question is though, can you store it in the wand and then aim it at someone?
Actually, you can store it in yourself and you then aim it at somebody.
Yeah.
Right, we need to develop me a fucking lightning gun right now. I'm taking over the world.
Got one of those already. Now
Right,
So many requests.
that's a good start, mate.
So many requests for this one, but it's
over 100,
need to handle it
1,000
there.
at this point. Over 1,000 people want this thing built, and I will not build it. Just look at what it can do. It's going to hurt somebody if I sell it.
Is that
what do you want your Darth name to be, bro? Because me and you are taking over the world.
What's the output on that, Jeremiah?
This little one only peaks at 130,000 volts. The other one that I have goes to 300,000, and it performs literal magic. It will produce a beam of light that's not, there's no LEDs or anything else. It produces an ionized channel that's so powerful and so concentrated. It looks like a beam of light, like a laser beam coming out of it, and it bends towards your hand. And when it hits your hand, it doesn't shock you. It feels warm and fluffy, like a soft cotton ball jumping up against your hand. It's literally as close to magic as I've ever seen.
How
Right, can you build me one of these that's the size of the moon?
The size of the moon.
Does the design of the tip have a lot to do with its capabilities?
Oh man, yes, absolutely. I have 3 different tips for that thing that control the type of field emission and the maximum voltage.
The tip reminded me of a ring.
You can charge everything in the room with one of these tips. You can
What
charge
did the tip
doors,
remind you of,
grab
Sean?
onto the doorway with the electrostatic charge and close it if it's light enough. The hinges are well lubricated, so that's one of the things it can do. The ionizer tip, you can also spray it against some distant object about 5 or 6 feet away. and you'll see the entire object start to tilt or move or sway because there's so much charge on it. And with the rounded tip, you can build up a huge amount of potential, and you'll get these little emission jets, and they'll shoot out fast charge particle streams, and then you can basically charge yourself up to a really high potential, and you can choose to discharge it. Like by pointing your finger, something as simple as that, you can literally choose to discharge all the energy that you've accumulated and throw it towards an object to move it.
What are all the
These
tips?
are homemade. I'm pretty sure you can't find them at the truck stop.
Yeah, no, they're just made of brass rod on the lathe.
Are all the tips in that lingam shape? Or the tip of it reminded me of a lingam, what you've seen like an Indian.
No, one of them is an egg shape. One of them is a lingam shape, and one of them is a plain pyramid shape. And they all control the field completely differently. They do different things. Like if I want to levitate a feather, I'm probably going to use the pyramid tip. If I want to move a door, I'm going to use the lingam tip. And if I wanted to shoot a lightning bolt out of my hand, I'm going to use the egg tip.
Interesting, because those are all.
I'm very interested in option C, lightning out my hands. How do I do that?
Those are all three.
It does hurt. Like, don't get me wrong. It freaking hurts. Like hell. You just got to get used to it.
But when you say hurt, do you mean like kind of good hurt or?
It feels like, lightning, a low level of lightning going through your body, familiar maybe to neuropathy, that kind of electrical feeling for those that have neuropathy and have experienced that.
Okay, so has anybody not ever rubbed their feet on the carpet and touched the door handle and got that little shock?
Yeah, some people were commenting on that in the comments.
All right, so that makes you jump a little bit, right? Now amplify that by about 100. The pulse is so fast, your nerves really don't know what to do, so most of your muscles just convulse. You can tell your brain to overcome that sensation. It turns out that there is actually a feedback mechanism where you can precondition the muscles to not respond by thinking about it ahead of time, even though the signal doesn't get to your brain once you get art to. So you can mind over matter it, basically.
Jeremiah, someone wants to know how many amps at that voltage.
The continuous output is less than 5 milliamps. The instantaneous impulse from a full human body my size, I'm about 136 pounds and about 5'10". So for me, standing on a linoleum floor and grounding the tip of the wand to something like a water faucet, my instantaneous pulse delivery when I tap that water faucet is somewhere around 600 to 800,000 amps. But it only lasts a couple of picoseconds in that extremely narrow rise time, and that's just during the ionization conduction phase. After that, it quickly decays down to only a couple of kiloamps, and then eventually into the microamps. So this all happens over the course of several nanoseconds. So there's not really any danger because the current is so fast that it doesn't even flow through the person. Only a small part of it does, but a lot of it flows around you as the field. And you'll feel the wave. I mean, it feels almost as if somebody took like a big piece of cardboard and waved it insanely fast, and just brushed right past you. You feel everything on your body just flow right in, almost as if the pressure in the room changed when you discharge.
Jeremiah, remember when you were experimenting with ferrofluid and creating those films?
Oh yeah, I hated those. Wrong material. I got some cheap iron rods, and I would have liked to have something in better shape that would have.
I tried to present that the last time we were on together. Unfortunately,
yeah,
I didn't have as good of a close-up on the clip I found. I think I found a better clip. Whenever BurnEye has a chance, I'm not as used to presenting on here, so can I just hit play or?
Just give me a second.
Hopefully this one has a better close-up.
I think he just tried, and I think I just tried at the same time, so I tried to edit to kick it back out.
Yeah, that's much more
Jinx,
close.
buy me a pop. We hit it at the same time. All right, the ferrofluid looking good.
Much better close-up. And he has a unique magnet that he has positioned to create those lines you're seeing.
Yeah, keep in mind, I pointed this out last time. I'll point it out again. You can see the LED strip on the side. Each of those lines comes from one of the LEDs. So where we might be deceived into thinking, well, those are the actual magnetic field lines. Well, no, that's the magnetic field curvature, but the lines themselves are coming from each LED. So don't count the quantity, just look at the angle that it's curving. That's what you really want to gain from this, is the angle that it's curving, because you can see that angle change.
So what we're seeing here is the magnetic field.
Like right, we're seeing the magnetic field three-dimensionally realized through iron particles suspended in oil.
Yep. I thought it came out really beautifully. Then, you know, you can see these patterns in nature. Reminds me a bit of like how a sunflower looks.
It does follow the same angle ratio, that curvature.
You see some of these patterns on old temples as well, so it's interesting because I don't know, maybe they're referring to this.
I'm sure this fits.
Shem, I think you're 100% bang on with that. A lot of the sacred geometry is in fact higher dimensional, often 3-4 dimensional cymatic and energy frequency structures, and just like a technology power.
It just fascinates me that you can see this in the magnetic field. You see it in a sunflower, repeating patterns at different orders of magnitude in, you know, different mediums.
The 369 Fibonacci sequences.
One of the angles that you altered at looks like the rosette, which is a representative of the goddess Inanna. It's very interesting to me. I've never seen this before.
Just about any magnet, and then if any ferrocell will show you the same thing. Some are much better than others, but it is fascinating to think about that natural inverse square curve as distance of mu dies off. So
the Powerpuff Girls were homunculus. That video was that video was
man, I never realized that. Dude totally called it. Holy cow. Wow. Man, I can't believe I never thought about that. That is hilarious.
Thanks for letting me show some of these cool videos through.
Thank you for sharing them.
I hope it's possible to make shit levitate with a Tesla egg machine. If you have a Tesla egg machine, if you put a negatively charged magnet on top of it, will it float?
I want to ask you where you heard about that.
Fuck.
It's something that you're probably not supposed to do.
I don't know. I don't know.
I'll just say this. It needs to be a positively charged magnet. And it's not the magnet that floats. It's what's above it.
Does the machine itself float?
Especially if it's made with bismuth?
Unless you attach the gain in altitude or the force that's being produced by the rotating object in reference frame to the rest of the assembly. But you do need that rotating object is going to be what really produces a huge amount of force, and it might not necessarily be very heavy compared to the whole machine, but the force that it will generate upwards is the kind that might shoot through your ceiling, for example. So that's what you want to tap. It needs to be mounted rigidly into the chassis of the vehicle if you want to try and do that type of thing. So, where did you hear about that now?
But I'll get back to you guys in a couple of weeks.
Elkman's got the private lab set up. He keeps it secret.
As all good alchemists and sweet tooth and fellow knuckleheads, good Ryan Sir. Happy Canada Day to all. We're right
Happy
at
Canada Day, everybody. I had a lot to share, but it was just going to cause more division than it was going to cause unity. So I just said, fuck it. And I'm just here to say.
Perfect. Well, we'll be back in 3 days for the 4th of July, and then we can share it then. And we can do American independence, more divisive, division, polarized than ever.
Doesn't have to be. Doesn't have to be.
Did you hear about Roseanne Archibald? She got voted out. Did you hear about that, Elkman?
What was that, sorry?
Roseanne Archibald, she got voted out of being the chief of the Native Alliance or whatever.
No.
APTN News.
a corrupt man. EPTN is actually epic here in Canada. It's one of the free channels, and it's the Indigenous broadcaster and news, and yeah, thus you can actually keep up with Indigenous affairs, and that's actually good to hear, because one thing is corruption is rampant through all societies in the West and needs to be rooted out.
Yeah, and I also think our fellow Canadians got like a 6 month timeline to share everything we got to share before it's not an option anymore. So
it's getting scary up there.
Everybody get your stuff out there. Get your stuff out there. I'm not causing more division on this day, but fellow Canadians, if you have any info, you got a 6 month timeline to get it out there, unless you're an official news reporter. So
the government of Canada is causing division, not you. Talking about stuff isn't division.
You can share that. I can't share that.
But since we brought up the Nazis earlier, I just wanted to talk about this real quick. For anyone who doesn't know about it, this is Operation Osavikim. This is the Soviet version of Operation Paperclip. So basically what it seems like to me is that almost no allegedly evil Nazis were held accountable for their war crimes. They were either sent to America or sent to the Soviet Union. And very few people were actually held accountable. If they even were actually held accountable, who knows if those trials were even real or if they were just propaganda, like a show trial. And even if they were real, the people who they executed weren't even necessarily responsible for
no one higher up, no one ordering the crimes, no one committing the crimes.
So it says here, this was the secret Soviet operation under which more than 2,500 former Nazi specialists, scientists, engineers, technicians were sent to the Soviet areas, and 4,000 more family members. It's totally more than 6,000. So Operation Paperclip, I think, had around 2,000. Hold on, let me look it up real quick. That's a shit ton of scientists and specialists and their families. I mean, how many people were held accountable? Not very many. Why is that? Probably because World War II is something that we are not being told the truth about at all. Operation Paperclip is 2,000, yeah. So right there we have 8,000 people. I mean, how many German people were alive at the end of the war to begin with? So 8,000 is quite a big number. Just a random little thing for anyone who hasn't heard about it. Soviet Union was an evil organization that killed far more people than the alleged war criminals of the Axis powers. Just one allied power killed more than the entire Axis powers put together. Just one.
On their own populations.
That's enough of that, though.
Because today's Canadian Independence Day, and we separated from those powers. Sleeping Prophet, Lucifer, Luke, do you have any last words?
Are we finishing already?
New topics. I do need to get out to get to the wife and watch the fireworks that are about to go boom boom in the sky as the sun has finally setting, and it's that time of day. Although if you want to keep going, I can just drive and let you guys keep on giving her by all means if you want. Just no.
It's up to everyone else. I'm making a burger. You know, I was gonna make some food, get back, carry on, but up to you guys.
Might do something on my channel. I don't know. You can come if you want, Luke, but I'm not sure if I'm gonna do something.
Yeah, you know what? Yes. I'll do that.
How about don't go anywhere? Just hit the button that says share with the audience for the both of you, and then it will be live on everybody's channel. It can just keep on going, you know, and then, you know, it just, there you go. It's already set up. No new work, and you keep just
no,
right, like why not? And it's live on Rumble, it's live on Twitch, it's live on 3 Twitters, it's live on 3 Facebooks, it's live on 4 YouTubes right now, including Esra's and the Tao of Frankie Gidser and yeah, so Rumble, Twitch, Twitter's, YouTube, Facebook. It's on everything, and a bunch on Twitch. So just hit share with your audience. Keep it
Well,
going.
I have to organize stuff because I haven't had a chance to put together what I'm going to share. So that's the only reason that I'm going to take a little break and eat some fruit or something.
That's
Get
fine.
ready to go.
Can easily hit play a button that
Well,
gives
as you
you
can see as
30
well,
minutes.
I've got a construction site behind me. I've got to get back to.
Fair enough,
So,
because
yeah.
Hey Shem, I think it's easier for me to spill tea on your channel than it is on Burn. So
fair enough. Well, I
just
can
your
always
location and what
I
have
can
you.
always just end it on the YouTubes and keep it going on Rumble. Because like you said, you got 6 months, and the whole point is to multi-stream to every platform possible, so and get as much out there as possible.
Well, how
as
about this?
much as possible.
I'll send you a link to the StreamYard if I end up doing it, because like I said, I'm not even sure if we're doing anything. So I got to communicate with Sarah and Elkman to organize it, plus put together my own little presentation.
Oh, you
fell asleep
mean
earlier like an idiot.
all the people that are in this current
Exactly.
stream right now?
But I can't share something that's not put together. What do you
could easily talk in the private chat and like face to face digitally right now.
I do have a little secret to add there for, sort of our possibly end of the stream. And this goes out to the anti-gravitics researchers. If you produce a bunch of free charges and you spray them into the air, and then you rotate those charges, any object that's in the center of where that rotational axis is going to be affected by the change in epsilon for that field. So that means the gravitational coupling coefficient will be modified, and so will the internal frame of reference. And you may experience that though your weight might not seem to instantaneously change, the inertial response does. So it's something to look out there for anybody who happens to be looking into the anti-gravitics and the experimentation side of it. Take a look for changes in inertial response, because they are not going to be linear with your gravitational weight.
This is Red Rock Canyon in Waterton National Park, southern Alberta, and quite fascinating red rock, just like Colorado there, and Nevada, Utah, all the the Badlands. And
yeah, you've been boots on the ground for a couple of days. Pretty cool stuff. I saw your dog was happy to be out there. I think we lost him.
Yep. That's what's good, everybody.
I'm just trying to figure out if I can upload this footage real quick.
Has anyone got any Canaday questions?
Who's your favorite tribe?
It was most likely this is Nashville, but like it.
Bernie, you're freezing.
Streamyard.
I know. So one thing I learned about Canada was on maps way before Canada was even an idea. It was in maps from a long time ago called Capa da Nada, and that's Spanish for Cape of Nothing. But y'all been told it's Canada or Canada or whatever. But the earliest you'll ever see it is on a map. It tripped me out. So I was like, yo, what the fuck is Canada doing in this time? But maybe someone else can pull up the map, because I definitely can't right now. But Capa da Nada is worth researching. Capa da Nada. Cape of Nothing.
Capa de Nada. Sounds like it's Spanish.
The names are epic. And how about Giant's Tomb there? Would a refresher on that one. And my apologies.
Giant's Tomb Island. So, like, if you research a lot of native Canadian stuff, Giant's Tomb Island has a lot of significance. But it all relates back to Moses, Abraham, and Jesus when you really dig deep into it. So I ended my research once I realized that the people that were telling the stories to the Jesuits had already been to France and returned from France before the Jesuits got here to tell them those stories. I just kind of gave up. But yeah, Capitanata is interesting. Cape of Nothing. It exists on many maps before Canada exists, in the exact same location where Canada is right now.
The French language is very interesting. I'm looking up Capitanata map and I don't see anything.
You have the map.
What, on Instagram?
I don't know. I don't know how to search Instagram for map. One sec.
If you can bring it up on here, I can help you share it. Sorry, my computer crashed. Upgrade computers and still no difference. Crashes every time.
I think I might have found it.
Help, computer! Stop all the downloading! Help save computer!
Never mind, I didn't find it.
No, I looked it up earlier. I'll find it. What's everyone's favorite thing about Canada today?
I've never been a fan of Canada. I like you and Bernie, and I like Tom Green.
Tom Green's pretty dope.
I like
so my favorite quote from Tom Green is, "It makes a lot of sense to everybody, so listen to me right now. If you're listening to me, quit your shitty job at the cheese sandwich factory." Tom Green.
Freddie got fingered.
Oh man, Bernie, you're proud
Life
to
lesson.
got that reference. That's awesome.
Not about 10% of Canadians are pretty awesome. The other, oh my goodness.
Bernie doesn't know it.
Hey kid, I'm a computer. I know that quote. That's from Fear Before March of Flames, which is a band, but I don't know what they got it from.
G.I. Joe. Those who know it will know it. Those who don't, you're missing out.
Yeah, unfortunately, I had to delete a lot of stuff off of my computer, so I lost some of my old map links. Elkman.
Yeah, I just researched this map earlier to show y'all, and it's fucking scrubbed already. Maybe it's Capitanata with the DE.
Here's your ASMR. Oh, you couldn't hear it. Wait. There you go.
What is that? Making some tea?
It's lion's mane oil. Just picked it up today.
That stuff is amazing.
Yeah.
Missed my mouth.
Duke, were you going to sing Duke and Sarah? Are you going to sing the Lion King?
I like to buy it raw and just eat it.
Yeah, that's good. That's really good too. There's a local place that you can go buy and get the spores and everything from too. So I do want to do that, but in the meantime, they have it's not too bad, and it's all local, and so you can trust it. Sorry.
Yo.
What do you put it in? Are you just drinking it, or do you
with
burn it,
my-
or what do you do? I don't know anything about it.
Where's my spoon? Where's my no, this is seltzer. This is seltzer water. It's got real grapefruit in it. It's really yummy. and you put it in a glass, and you put just a little bit of ice. Sorry, I'm being obnoxious. And then some lion's mane. I usually put a little more of my grapefruit flavor. So 1 second. Oh, you can put. Here we go. Let's put some real, clean out that bladder. Let's get some 100% cranberry juice in there. Okay, guys? Make sure you do that.
Some pomegranate too.
Before you have those drug tests, this is really good stuff. Okay.
Does someone have the power to share my screen? Please?
No, only BurnEye. Sorry, I think.
I can do that if you.
Okay.
Oh, sweet.
I'm still here, and so can Jeremiah.
Yeah, I'll read this really quick, guys. So someone shared a map with me, and it said Canada on it, Canada, way earlier than it was supposed to. Someone's in this chat with us, and we'll be able to find it again, but it's not happening.
Yeah.
I think I have that map still. I know what you're talking about. I didn't think it said Kappa. I didn't know that was the same one, but I know what you're talking about.
I've also been eating cherries, and the inflation cost is ridiculous. Last night, I saw some for $3.30 a pound, and I was like, "Oh, 100 grams or something." I forget. Whatever it was, it was expensive. And then I went into the store today, and it was $4.50, and they were trying to claim it was on sale for like $9, and I was like, "What's the WF?"
There's certain things here, but we're pretty lucky where I'm at because a lot of people grow all that, so it's not horrible. But there's certain things that, for a while, avocados were ridiculous. But yeah, it sucks.
So that was all. I just want to share this. So it was already called Canada before Canada existed, because it was discovered by the Spanish and called Capa da Nada, Cape Nothing. And this is from the Canadian Encyclopedia. And this is the only place you can find this info right now. It also has all the other sides of it. Sorry?
Wow.
But it's an official source, though.
Yeah, but I have my fears that it won't be around for too long, so I'm just trying to share this with y'all. And it is on maps. If you guys look at maps from that exact same time, you'll find Canada on it, but Canada wasn't a thing then. So it makes you wonder.
I think I have the map right now that we looked at, that we discovered this on. It's loading. My computer is very slow.
But I don't want to share any division. I love everybody. I just want to point out the stuff I know am obligated to share while I can still share it.
I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think it's other people's problem if they're getting triggered because of it.
Yeah.
No, I'm not saying anyone's getting triggered. I'm not saying anyone's getting triggered. I'm just saying I believe I personally have a timeline to get the information that I know out in a respectful way to do it. So
yeah, I'm backing what you're saying.
Happy Canada Day,
I do want to cause division. However, I do want to cause division.
Shem's going to the
and it's okay.
Looking it out like Muscany, or I mean, I just said Muscany.
It's okay to cause division as well too. It's okay to cause division, but just for me today, not this day.
Can you share my screen real quick? I have that map up. All right,
for philosophers, it's good. There's a point to good chaos. This is
this is amazing. This is remaking Canadian history on Canada Day, and it's showing that Canada is a lot older than we've been told it is.
Historically backed controversy is a good thing for us to consider. If it turns out
scroll
not
to
to
the
be
top
true,
of that
it's
screen though,
completely
Shem.
unfounded,
Scroll to
but
the top of it so we can see the link and
I'm trying to show people the information about the map real quick. So this is published in 1575 with a question mark. And this is a map of the world. And right here you can see that it says Canada Pro, which back then they used to be professionals in Canada. As we know now, things have changed. And here's another version.
Hey,
fucking amateur hour over here now.
Here's another map from 1560 allegedly that says Canada Pro as well. So I don't know the history of Canada very well. It also says Ochilaga right here, which is interesting. It has a bunch of little castles. But Canada Pro, clear as day. According to Elkman, Canada didn't exist back then. I don't know.
Yes. So I just want to cut him off right now. So we were doing research, and I'm like, all of a sudden I started tripping out, and then I realized Canada didn't exist this early, and it's on maps way earlier than it ever existed. But yeah, more info to come soon.
One interesting thing about both of these maps to me as well is that over here on the side where Alaska is, you can see it's connecting
It's all
with Siberia.
freaking pyramids, man.
Well, it's still connecting. It's still connecting. Back in 1560, they are saying that this is still connected with Siberia and Asia. As you can see, it says Amagog right here. So this is Gog Magog. Same with this 1560, or this it does say 1560, but it also said 1575. With this map as well, you see the same thing. It even shows Tibet right here, and you have this region being connected on the west side of the United States with Asia and Siberia. And you see right here again, you have Amagog, you have Tibet, you have whatever this says, Vesby. I don't know if you can see my mouse. And then you have a small version of Japan.
So this also gives credence to the map that Bernie shared earlier. I shared a high-res version of it, the highest res I could find in the chat, the live chat way up there. Look for Lazy Alchemist, there'll be a link. And so it ties everything in together with also what Bernie was talking about earlier too, with India also being in some area to the west of I don't know, whatever, man.
Cusco's still looking like it's pretty prominent back in these times. So yeah.
Yeah.
Canada has it equally as much going on as Canada is part of America. So Canada has equally as much as what's going on in the States and as Mexico, but it's far more hidden. But yeah, it's all the same, man. All land has all the same.
Can't wait to go further into those indigenous castle and forts maps from a couple streams.
Yeah, the finger. Yeah.
So yeah, pretty cool map, Canada.
Yeah.
And we got a lot of cities in America apparently back then, like Grenada, Chans, Nusef, Tontontinuk, Coama, Chico.
What's the year on this?
This one is from, it says 1575, but it also says 1560. So it's between, I'm guessing it's between 1560 and 1575. So we have these castles in Western
United
States.
It also says 1512 to 1577.
That's really important.
I think that's I think that's the guy that's made it, and that's the years he lived. I think that's what that is.
Like a proposed settlement.
Indeed. This information has been added to my psychological roster of possible realities.
Oh, there's a lot more to it.
I may teleport.
I have some pretty cool maps. But... All right, well, I'll share these. I wish I could just comment on the freaking chat from my computer, but it won't let me, so I can't share these in the chat. I can put them in the private chat if someone else can do it. Feel free.
You can share them on Bernie's chat because everyone's a moderator on there.
No, I'm saying like when I click comments on StreamYard, I can't comment on the video for some reason.
No, you have to have the video open on one of Bernie's many streams.
Yeah.
On your YouTube in another window.
Okay, I got you. I'll do that. My computer might crash though, just a warning.
You can send them to me and I'll send them if that isn't problematic.
You can save some bandwidth by killing your local webcam video, and it usually seems to help.
Gotcha.
I actually have the link. I can do it. I just kind of got lost looking at it for a second. Oh, this is cool. Okay.
I want to send you.
Right, like all of these maps, it's rewrite. It's proving rewritten history and cataclysms and advanced both trade and civilization around the world, several epochs over, and then these apparent gaps and separations again. Tower of Babel moments, and we're there all over again.
Tower of Babel. Shout out to the goddess.
Shout out.
She's making dinner right now, and it's gonna be amazing.
I'm gonna try to find this one last map real quick, and then I'll stop sharing my screen. It's an interactive map. It's really amazing. I hope my computer can handle it. Give me about 2 minutes. I'll get it.
Okay, I got 2 minutes to show the Waterton National Park. We've got we got a sheep. We got a pyramid mountain. I'm just kidding, but who knows? Or is it all freaking Minecraft? That's what I like. For fuck's sakes, don't tell me it's a Phoenix protocol and all just the goddamn no, it is not a simulation.
Hey, Bernie, you got a
likely
segue moment? I just wonder what you thought about Google blocking access to Canadian news for anyone living in Canada. Same with Meta.
I was unaware of that.
So just Google to block access to Canadian news for anyone living in Canada. I made an Instagram post about it, but it's probably like shadow ban, what have you. But this is all from actual news sources. So every company in Canada, as of the last 4 days, will not publish any news. I'm using news in quotes. So this is due to bills C-16, 17, 18. Sorry for saying those demonic words on your stream. But
dude, C11 is daddy.
On that note, I'm gonna end it on one of my YouTube channels, just so they don't take it down in the future.
Oh, sweet. Then let's watch my video, so you don't have to worry about the copyright. Not right now, but once we're.
But yeah, if you Google that, it's all in the news right now. So Google cannot publish any news anymore in Canada. Neither can Meta, Twitter, Instagram, or anything. So these are all under umbrellas of YouTube is one of these things too.
Dude, I want to get into the paperwork. Can you pull the docs for that? Like, I would love.
Yeah, I'll send it to you. I'll send it to you right now in the private chat.
Yeah, I want to actually to open that up on live. I mean, that would be wonderful. If these are official documents, I would really love to see that because then we can get past this sort of speculation, conspiracy BS.
I can't
we
share
acknowledge what's really going on.
Facts only. All right, so ending it on Crypto Alchemist. Just posted the link, so we'll still keep it on BurnEye, as well as 2 Twitches, 3 Twitters, Rumble, as well as on the Tau, which it crashed, so I gotta share Frankie's channel that it's also live on, and Sarah's channel that it's also live on. And I believe on BurnEye, the Rumble channel is also pinned at the top.
I've been loading this map for about 5 minutes.
Sorry about that. Is that a pyramid? Is that like I don't know. Are they all pyramids? Am I just insane? Is it pareidolia?
It's hard.
Oops, wrong way. Trying to find the beautiful waterfalls, because that's what it's really about. And, ooh, nice marina.
I'll be right back.
Same here.
Okay. Oh, sorry. Were you waiting to bring that? My bad. Is this the interactive one?
Do not bring any of my links up.
Do not bring up your links? Okay.
Not in social media. Someone from the States should.
If you knows, you knows. And you can find mine in the description for TikTok, Instagram. I think I'm on Telegram, but I need to set it up in Discord, but also OdySee. And the Twitters, the Twitches, the YouTubes, the Rumbles.
Does anyone need anything more specific?
Okay, I got to go. I'm gonna leave it running, and we're gonna play a little commercial break. Oh no, Shem's back.
This map is from 1460 by Frau Mario, as you can see at the top of this page here. This one is interesting because it's an interactive version that actually gives locations for some of the sites. They'll give like a Google Maps coordinate for each of the cities here, because a lot of sources say that this map is inaccurate and a lot of these cities depicted here never existed, especially up here in the Siberia region. So I'm going to try to zoom in. If you lose me, I'm sorry, because this takes a lot of power from my computer, which is very old. But this is probably my favorite map of all time. I love this map, and I've been wanting to do another stream about it. The last time I did a stream with it, everything crashed and I had to stop. So I just haven't had a chance to do it.
So Canada Day is gonna give you good luck, and it's not gonna crash, and we're gonna make it through.
I hope so. One interesting thing is that this area right here says Regna Tenduk. This is the city where Prester John, the legendary figure, was said to rule over his entire kingdom, but there's multiple cities. And it's one of the few locations on the map that doesn't give you a Google coordinates when you pull it up. But when you go to some of these locations next to it, you do get Google coordinates. So you can actually go to some of these ones and type in the Google Earth coordinates and look on Google Earth and kind of look for Tenduk on here, which I haven't found it. I did find a couple of locations that I thought could have been the ruins of old cities. But yeah, this area up here is Siberia. If you look at a map of Siberia today, you'll see that it's just filled with these bay type holes all over the place. It's almost like it was like ripped apart by something. It's almost like it was ripped apart by something, and there's nothing there whatsoever. There's barely any cities. And when you do find a city, it's usually like these like storage unit type towns, like people are living in those storage units or something. It's really strange. But yeah, this map is just beautiful to me, and it has a lot of cool buildings on there. I'll share it into the chat in a minute, so if anyone wants to check it out. I wish I could show you what happens when you click on stuff, but I'm afraid that I'll lose it. Another interesting thing about this map, oh, it's already frozen.
No. Buffering. Oh, it's moving.
There we go, yeah.
But it does zoom in. It's interactive.
Yes, it's interactive.
You just need qubits, whether they're Egyptian qubits to decode it, or a quantum computer that can handle something, or Bill Gates or whatever the heck it is, who's taking up 95% of our computing power and never lets us do or load anything ever. Rant over.
Another interesting thing about this map is
don't use Windows.
Japan is, oh, Jesus. That escalated quickly. I think this map is done for on my computer, but Japan is called Java on this map as well, which I find interesting because the history of Japan is really debatable, the narrative that they give about it. One thing, too, is I saw on a stream with Luke from Ancient Historia sometime, he was showing flags of old naval flags of each country around the world, and Japan had this flag with like a sickle and a crescent moon on it. And an interesting thing about the sickle on that flag is that in ancient Rome, allegedly, when they would take baths, they would actually dump oil on their bodies and then use that sickle type thing to scrape the oil off their body. So I know that's a ridiculous connection, but I think maybe it's possible.
Yeah. No. This is connected to the Gui Shui that is actually kind of coming back. This is the whole like push with the we actually used to use oils like that and move our lymphatic system. That's really interesting.
Yeah, you should check out that flag. It's really weird. But one of our buddies, Luke and I, his name's like Luan or something. I'm not sure how to say it. I've never seen a name like that in my life. But he pointed out that I shared this photo on my Instagram of an old tower that used to be in Japan, and it looked like a Nestorian Christian tower. And if you look at the map right here, it kind of does look like the Nestorian Christians were over here at this time. The Nestorian Christians were originally aligned with the ancient Romans, but then they had the division because they said that Jesus was not the Son of God, basically kind of similar to what you guys were talking about earlier, how Jesus was just a prophet and can perform miracles, but he's not the actual Son of God, and he's separate from God because he never claimed to be God. So that was like the whole division between the Nestorian Christians, which were all throughout Siberia and Asia during this time period, and the Western Christians. And there's a lot of lore behind that. We won't really get into it right now, but I don't know. It's just interesting how you see all these cities in Siberia and Asia that shouldn't really exist, especially not in 1460. So
Metaphor can be a real doozy. I mean, different definitions of what somebody means. There are those who see the entire connection and those who don't. And, well, nobody really sees the entire connection with being a conscious being. If you were to say that you're the Son of God, you could also mean very many different things. And if, say, you had a very different perspective from everyone else, they may misinterpret that as being isolated from them, when in fact what it really meant was an instruction manual to how. It's an interesting idea, though.
Again,
it's the verbiage, right? So many linguistic problems. As my friend said, and this guy is, this is his quote, he scored in the top quarter of 1 percentile of the national mathematical aptitude. So it's pretty much a genius when it comes down to matching certain mathematical systems. And the way he described it is language is the tragedy of communication, basically meaning that when we try to convey ideas to each other, either through spoken language or written language or symbology, that so much is lost. It's a tragedy because we can't realistically understand what the original meaning was, and so many of us think quite differently. That history has forgotten the metaphor in favor of a linguistic reinterpretation.
Well, there's evidence for what you're saying even in modern days, like within the age barriers that we have in America, for example. Someone from 20 years ago, if they have a conversation, someone who's 20 years older than someone else, if they have a conversation with them, it's hard for them to understand what they mean with their dialogue, because there's so many different slang words and there's so many different ways of talking that you could be being completely polite to someone, but they don't understand you're being polite and they actually are offended by what you're saying, if that makes any sense. As I get older, I kind of realize that like saying please and thank you for some reason now in America has become like offensive to people. It's really strange.
Yeah, you bother to initiate communication unsolicited, and how dare you?
Oh, for sure. For sure. Holy shit.
Tartaria is right here for all your Tartaria people.
Like, have you ever considered this? Like, yeah, asshole, why would you not think I would consider that?
I'm sorry I said hello and asked you if you're having a good day. I'm sorry that I was cordial with you and that you were offended because I don't know you and you don't know anything about me, and how dare you speak to me. I'm royalty, don't you understand? Royalty in my own mind. My parents told me so, and the school said that I was perfect and all winners. So you can't talk to me like that.
I think a lot of it has to do with the entertainment industry too, because a lot of the bad guys in TV shows and movies now are like the polite type of people, and they're like seen as creepy and evil when they're polite. So it's like, and you see the people the celebrities that people look up to are just, they talk in a very weird manner, like everything is like almost like a joke or something. It's hard to explain.
Hence the age of gentlemen is dead.
Exactly. It's ridiculous. It doesn't make any sense. But also another interesting thing about this map is in 1460, right here, we have the city of Troy being depicted, even though they claim it wasn't discovered until the 20th century. So this is Troy right here. It's right next to Constantinople. And one last thing I want to show about this map is that Africa is also just as amazing as the Siberian region, with all these depictions of castles, compared to Italy and other areas on the map that should look like that, but they don't. The excuse given is that the person who created this map on this, there's like a website that kind of goes through and translate everything. It says that basically they didn't depict Italy as being populated because everyone at the time period already knew it was populated, so there's no reason to depict it. So that was the excuse. I just think that's really weird and kind of stupid. So right now we're looking at Italy, and you can, well, I don't know if you're looking at it because my computer could be frozen, but you might be looking at Italy right now, and you can see there's no castles. There's nothing really here, especially compared to Siberia.
Yeah.
It just looks really, I don't know, just dumb, I guess. And then now I'm going to show Africa real quick, and then we will stop talking about this map. If it will load. Another interesting thing about this map is in the United Kingdom area, it talks about there's like so you see how there's all these paragraphs all around the map. There's one paragraph close to the United Kingdom that talks about a body of water that can convert anything you stick into it into stone, which I found was, I don't know, it's very fascinating. Okay, so now we made it to Africa finally. Oh, getting there. Still loading.
I think I might have something to read while it's loading.
There we go. So yeah, Africa is pretty populated, especially over here in Mauritania, Southern Africa, Ethiopia, which is interesting because they say that Presser John guy I was talking about earlier from Tinduk, they say that he's from Ethiopia. So I'm not really sure what's going on with that. But I've read some sources recently that said Ethiopia used to be filled with, quote, the most beautiful people who were tall and pale. So I'm not sure what happened or what changed down there.
I just shared a Presser John link in the chat. I'll try and find it.
So yeah, I'm going to share this link for any.
Canada being in the land of Presser John.
Canada? Interesting.
Yeah,
I'll share this link in the chat for anyone who wants to check it out. But yeah, we'll move on.
So April 20th, 1534 was a red letter day in the history of St. Malo. The substantial, should I share the screen too, just to be legit or what?
Yes, sir. Please do.
Oh, fuck. Okay. I'm just hamming it up a little bit, guys. Happy Canada Day. I love you.
Love you all too. And what a historic Canada Day to rewrite its history by at least a couple hundred, if not a few hundred years right here, right now. Just happened.
Oh, nothing will be rewritten. It's already been written many times over and over and over and over. Am I sharing the wrong fucking screen? Yeah.
Touche, but once it makes it into the metaverse matrix, freaking Inception stream, you know, July 1st, 2023, we now know Canada was around in the 1500s, 1400s.
No, Kappa da Nada. It straight up said Canada. Anyways, I'm going to shut up and read this shit. April 20th, 1534 was a red letter day in the history of St. Malo. The substantial seaport town was in a state of excitement. On granite ramparts, crowds of sightseers had assembled over the Ceylon, the 650-foot causeway that joined the island on which St. Malo stands with the mainland men, women, and the children were rushing to see Jacques Cartier, the most renowned sailor in France, and his hardy crews set out for the newfound land, which is Newfoundland, Canada, not for fish or furs, but to seek passage through the continent of America to the land of Prester John and the Grand Khan. Whoops, did I stutter? Jacques Cartier, the most renowned sailor in France, and his hardy crews set out for the newfound land, not for fish and furs, but to seek passage through the continent of America to the land of Prester John and the Grand Khan, for the leadership of this national enterprise, undertaken through jealousy of the work of the Spanish and English navigators. Sir Charles de Moy La Marvier, Vice Admiral of France, had chosen Cartier, the mariner of St. Malo, and supplied him with 2 ships, each manned by 61 men. I don't know the significance of 2 times 61, but y'all will tell me in the chat. Vessels had long been sailing from St. Malo for distant ports in Europe and Africa, and for the fisheries of the North Atlantic, attracting but little attention. But on this day, hearts were stirred, a new undertaking that might bring great glory to France, and St. Malo was on foot. As the little ships weighed anchor, the cannon on the ramparts, on the great towers of principal gates, thundered a Godspeed, and the enthusiastic crowd shouted themselves hoarse, as myself, as the sails were thrown out. Adventurous and vessels forged away into the English Channel and then shaped their course for the New World. But the only part I thought was super interesting was Jacques Cartier was stoked to go to America to the land of Prester John the Grand Khan.
Yeah, that's incredibly interesting. Well, they say Prester John ruled over, like, I don't remember the exact number, but I think they said 60 different nations or something like that. I don't remember off the top of my head. I'm sorry, but so it does make sense. And we saw on those old maps that it was possible, at least, that Siberia used to be connected to Canada in more recent times than what they say. But obviously, that's just speculation. Could be complete bullshit. So I don't know.
And guys, I don't know shit about fuck. I'm just a guy with Google like y'all, and I just know. I'm telling you, in 6 months it's gonna be gone for me. So, like, here's what I got for you.
People are saying you need a Halls, bro.
Yeah, so on that note, I have to get driving, so I'm ending it right now on my Crypto Alchemist, but